baseball jersey, it's a lot different. So quality is one thing, price is another, and in the long run, that cheap jersey may not make it through the entire season after about 4 washes and some mud on it. So you want to get quality stuff. And if that can be bought local, so be it. But if not, then that's just how the world works in the capital society.
And last comment before I sit down, where it sounds good on the surface, it could also create a culture where if someone wants to get online and wants to go do some legwork around town, they say, well, normally I would sell it for this, but since we have ordinance in place now, I can actually go up on it. So it's competition is really what's good for the world, and but buying local is something that we have really strived on, and we're doing it to its utmost.
Now, one thing I'd like to bring up before we get too far into the weeds here and we're here till midnight again, flip side of that, there's a lot of businesses from outside the city of Prattville who do business here. They build houses, they open chain stores, they have all kinds of things that they bring to Prattville. But I never see their names on a Little League jersey or a sign at a football stadium or support any of our arts or anything else. So I'd like to see more businesses who want to come to Prattville and be a part of our community to contribute back to the community more than just taking the money and run.
Totally agree.
All right, are there any other questions as far as the executive? All right, one of our newly created, Mr. Oakley, is the Lyric.
Yes, sir. So the next department is a new department. It's the Lyric at Esther's. It's not going to be what I would consider an enterprise fund just because it doesn't generate revenue directly. But it is, you know, we've had the Lyric for a year now. We're coming up on a year. So we've gotten a chance to see what the expenses were in that initial year and make some better informed projections on what we might spend over there. So whereas last year the Lyric's expenses were in kind of a lump sum line item, tourism and economic development, this year we split it out, and I've kind of split it out into what I anticipate those expenses being.
Any questions as far as the Lyric as it has been split out? All right, none? I may have one, but I'm going to hold it till we get to the other new one. So, all right, economic development, which is also a new department for us.
So this one is a new department, and we've had several years of expenses that we've kind of tracked. So I feel, you know, that we feel pretty good about these. Amy's in her second plus year now back at the city, so we understand what, you know, her needs are specifically. And there is a budgeted request for a new position in this department for an economic development project manager to kind of help Amy with a lot of, and she may can tell you what specifically that would entail, but that's pretty much the main changes. I will draw your attention to, there's a Highway 82 traffic study. In this budget for $75,000, that's going to be related to both the James Hardy incentive package and also the Owens Corning incentive package. You know, we're going to do a study to see if a traffic light is warranted at the new South Industrial Park Road and Bridge. And the traffic study is going to drive it. ALDOT won't let us do it without it saying that we need it. But that was one thing, and I believe that was it.
Okay, so any questions on economic development department?
I would like to, you and I have texted about the new position. If you can just quickly go over what that would entail to the best that you know at this point.
Sure. Good evening. So most departments obviously are not departments of one. So as we've established this over the last several years, the addition of a project manager is just that. It's to manage projects, assist with data collection, Software usage, we do know that we're going to add a business incubator. So this position would focus on the incubator, also some small business facade grants and other things that we've talked about. Honestly, there's so many hours in the day, and we have, I don't know, on my board, about 125 projects all the time. So, and I knew it would take us a couple of years to get here, and we discussed that when I first came, and it's just time to do a project manager. I don't anticipate anything further past that, but making sure that we have some backup there and some continuity as well.
I think it's a great idea, and I don't know how you do as much as you do. I just wanted an explanation,
Sure.
basically, for the public. Thank you.
Mhm. And that, if approved, we wouldn't advertise, and there wouldn't be anybody here till probably January. Take a little time.
Okay.
One other item I'll point out on the bottom of that budget, the capital outlay, that is for South Industrial Park signage. So that's sort of an idea of allocated. We are, a while back, I don't even know, maybe 2 months ago, I think y'all approved, I lose track of time these days, to work with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood to come up with that design. So we're in the middle of that. So this is for the construction of those signs. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Any other questions for the Economic Development Department? All right, legislative.
So there's not really any significant changes that I recall in this department. It's a fairly small department. The salaries are set by ordinance. And then there's some education and travel-related expenses.
All right, any questions about legislative department?
I don't have necessarily, maybe not a question, but just an idea. Just looking at the education portion, I think we had 8,000 last year as well, if I'm not mistaken. And looks like we went over that budget pretty significantly, I guess. From what I can tell, just the education portion was over 11,000 this year. And then, you know, proportionally per council member, you know, there was some folks, you know, not to pick at anybody or anything, but who went maybe 4 or 5 times to different conferences or meetings, and maybe somebody went to one that when you hit that threshold of the budget being met, then if somebody wanted to go, they were no longer, you know, able to go due to the budget constraints. So I'd like to see if we could figure out a way to kind of even this out for every council member, kind of, if you can, I don't know if you can do it, divide it by 7 or whatever, and that'd be what you could do per the year. If somebody doesn't want to take their portion and they want to give it back or whatever, to let somebody else go somewhere or something like that, I'm game, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as an idea. That way everybody has this equal opportunity to take advantage of the opportunities to go to these conferences and education opportunities.
Any other questions or comments on legislative?
Yeah, I guess, no, I'll come back to it.
All right. I guess along that same line, my comment would be just to remind counselors that by Act 2024-194, we are required now to have 40 hours in a quadrennium or 10 hours a year of training. And that has to be approved training to get that credit. Now, I know once you have achieved your basic CMO or advanced CMO, and you're working towards emeritus, then those hours are, required hours are reduced. In my personal opinion, I feel like we should be using this budgeted money to meet the requirements of what we're required by law. And then once those have been met, then we can determine, or once they've been met, if you don't have any for that year, you can determine what you want to use your portion of funding for as far as training, so. Any other questions or comments as far as legislative or training?
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and No, go ahead, we'll come back to it.
All right, finance.
So finance, no new positions requested on my end. Majority of our, let's say, non-salaries and benefits expenses relate to the city's annual audit, which is budgeted at $95,000 for next year, and that's a standard quote since we bid it out, or we did an RFP and awarded a 3-year engagement to Warren Averett this last go-around. We have some education, some travel, some of it's, we have 2 CPAs on staff, so we have certain education that's required to maintain those certifications. I also budget each of my employees with their separate continuing education amounts for their specific jobs. I do big believer in education and how that can help you. We also have trustee fees for debt service pieces paid out of this department. The biggest increases outside of what came with the pay plan adjustments were the bank fees. So we have few different credit card processing companies that we use, and they charge fees. We eat those fees. We don't pass them on to the customers. So more and more folks are paying us with credit cards, which is fine. So up that 10,000, and I think that's about it. Oh, electricity, I did. So my department pays for all the utilities for this building. We don't split that out into all the different departments. And I bumped electricity up, I think 15,000, just because of, I guess, higher costs there.
All right, any questions under finance? My only question would be on the credit card fees. So that's anybody that pays for something in finance with a credit card?
Yes, sir.
And we don't pass any of that
No, sir.
along? One of the only places in the world.
Yeah,
think we
and that's just
probably
a
does-
benefit that we've kind of done. Most people paying finance are, well, it could be a myriad of things, but a lot of our businesses obviously pay us sales tax and business license fees, and we've historically absorbed those, and it's up to roughly, looks like 50,000, I think, dollars a year.
Any other questions for finance? All right, city clerk?
So we have the 2 positions budgeted plus one of the city attorneys. And Paula, did you have anything that jumped out that was different than last year? I can't think of anything offhand, so.
No, sir, everything's pretty much status quo. The only thing that is different for us is insurance rates on some different things, but that's budgeted in each of the individual departments, not specifically in our department.
Okay.
We have a portion for our part of it, but not specifically to ours.
And glad you mentioned that, thank you. So that there was a significant increase in insurance last year, and then they kind of split it out over a couple of years for us to ease the burden. There's a significant increase in particular with the police department, and that's just because of some of the national things going on. And so we have spread those out. I did pull insurance out separately for economic development. The mayor's office absorbs, their insurance is a little bit higher than what you would think for that small of a department, but they absorb the non-departmental insurance pieces, which is roughly 40,000, I think 39,000 maybe. So we just stick that in executive.
Okay. All right, any questions on city clerk? All right, human resources.
No new positions. They do, they've had an intern the past few years, and that intern has accepted a full-time job with another department, fire department, so we're very happy for her. But they are also want to keep that position because they deem it to have significant value for them. We do have the vacation repurchase program in there at $175,000. That's been a handful of years, 6 years maybe, that we've done that. And it's been very valuable for the employees who have elevated vacation times towards the end of the calendar year that they can go and cash out up to 80 hours. And, it's kind of like could be a hard-earned Christmas bonus, for a lot of folks. So we think it's been very beneficial.
Well, and it also removes a liability off the book.
And yes, it does, it does. Cash and liability go out the window, but that's good. Promotional testing, we've got a couple of processes for police and fire, it looks like more than a couple, 35,000 each. And so those can be expensive, but they're warranted.
All right, any questions for the human resources budget? No questions? I would just like to say, Mr. Thrash, thank you for the personnel budget overview that covered all of the departments in the city. It broke down everything for us as far as pay plan implementation, new positions that were requested, and then seasonal employee pay increase as well. So a lot of good information there. I hope everybody had a chance to go through that. Some reclassifications of positions. I guess technically they're new, but we're doing away with, I would call it a reclassification, but I'm not an HR person, so. Good information, also on, the group health benefits as well, which is a pretty significant increase, but something that we just have to work with. All right, any other questions from Human Resources Department? All right, we will move to one of our massive budgets in the Information Technology Department.
Yeah, so the IT budget, I'm not going to talk in depth a lot about because it's a very niche skill. But so the vast majority of our softwares are housed, the cost for the software is housed in the IT department and the software support line item. Jose's done a great job of going through and kind of really explaining what each one does, which I wouldn't begin to try and tell you about here. So outside of that, large expenses, also in the professional services arena. He's got several things in here related to cybersecurity, which is an increasing concern and a risk. And he actually hosted a, I don't know what you call it, cybersecurity case study type thing that several of us went to. And it was very interesting to kind of walk through that. Larger things in capital outlay, he does have a replacement server and a storage server expansion in here. Y'all have actually already approved the storage server expansion for the 202,000. That's just not going to be here until next year, and we'll pay for it until then. We are going to pay for both of those, or it's proposed we pay for both of those items with our Alabama Trust Fund money, and that's one of those transfers I talked about from the Capital Projects Fund. Alabama Trust Fund money is basically receipts from the oil and gas in the Gulf, and we get an allocation once a year on April 15th, and we can use that for IT-related improvements or building and facility construction or improvements.
All right, any questions for the Information Technology Department? I'd have to refer to somebody else because I know I wouldn't be able to answer them, but, all right, vehicle maintenance.
So in this department, we did have a requested position. It's a mechanic 1, and we are, I think it was mechanic 1, yeah. And the thought process was, not only for a mechanic for all city vehicles, but also to assist with some of the bigger trucks and sanitation and some of their issues. We're going to see what we can find potentially in that, for that position. Everything else is pretty much status quo.
Okay, any questions under vehicle maintenance?
I have a question. Is the position that we've discussed in sanitation of potentially hiring a mechanic for sanitation, is that off the table now and we're moving to share with vehicle maintenance?
I wouldn't say it's off the table, but I did have a conversation with Mr. Gandy, and I've talked with Tracy both. And I want to at least move forward with this position that we have right now coming into maintenance to cover the truck issues in both public works and sanitation. I think it'll be the start of seeing how it's going to play out. It is a problematic area because the trucks are specialized, and there's only really so much work we can do on some of them before they have to go to the manufacturer. We'll void the warranty on some of the things if we work on them. So I think Mr. Gandy and Tracy and I, I've talked to both of them about it. I think this is a good way to start looking at this. It'll give us the opportunity to do a little more, and we can see if we need to fill that gap a little later if it's still there. So.
All right, any other questions as far as vehicle maintenance? All right. You want to, I guess, cover debt services real quick?
Sure. Debt service, so this is a fairly, obviously, small little niche, what we call department, I guess. And it houses where we record all of our rebates for our incentive agreements, and they're listed out there. And we also have the lease, $249,000 annual lease with the HPRA for the public safety building.
Any questions on that? All right, engineering.
Engineering. Let's see, I'm trying to think. There were no new positions requested that I remember in engineering. We did have a street committee meeting yesterday. Yesterday, yeah. And we kind of walked through the budget for the three on the committee there. Main changes, the mayor's we've started putting more money into this dam maintenance, and the mayor's wanted, we set up a dam maintenance, it's not really a maintenance, but dam replacement fund.
Yeah.
And this was the first year we budgeted it in '26. We're putting $200,000 into it. Went ahead and pulled some FDR money to cover fiscal year '27's $200,000. So it'll have $400,000 in it here shortly. And that's because we know the dam, as I think Paxton put it, it's not when, it's if there's going to be issues with it. So we've got that going. One of Paxton's other things that he wanted to install this year is a guardrail maintenance for $100,000, and create a new line item specifically for that. So evidently there's an accumulating number of guardrails that need to be replaced or repaired in some way. The drainage survey, there's $50,000 in here for a drainage survey to help with the stormwater mapping, similar to what we have with wastewater piping throughout the city. And we can implement that into our GIS system and see it all with a different map there. Anything else?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
I know we're talking about the dam fund, and I looked and I didn't see it. Maybe it's in here. Do we have something? We have the Gray Price and Bridge Street and the 4th Street bridges. Do we have something set aside to deal with bridge repair? Is that under us per se completely, or do we have some kind of grant funding with federal government under those? Are we focused on the bridges at all? Should we start worrying about the bridges, or?
No, that's a very good question. The mayor, I mentioned one of them. The mayor had three, so we put $200,000 into each. The other one, the middle one, was the bridge fund, a bridge repair, bridge replacement fund.
I just didn't see it on the line item. Maybe I missed it. So.
It's not on a line item because we're not expending it yet. Okay. It's just kind of, I'm pulling it into reserves. It's factored into how the budget is balanced, but it's not an actual expense until we go expend a repair or, spend money on a repair. So it won't show up in there, but it would be on your sheet that I put in here that shows how each fund's balanced. Now, this would be on last year's because I said I've fronted and paid for it already for fiscal year '27.
And just real quick, I guess FYI for everybody, roughly about 2009, AlDOT replaced the bridge, and it was actually before then, Seabury Price Bridge, replaced it Fourth Street Bridge, I think that was 2011, and some other bridges. At that time, they were LDOTs. Now they are ours. Generally going to have a 75-year life expectancy on it, but there will be some maintenance here and there, but we won't have to worry about replacing those. But there will be, if everything keeps going like it is, there are possibilities for some grant or some MPO assistance on that. One other thing I would like to point out to everybody real quick is also, it's on page 30. It also talks a little about the Mill Pond excavation. Now, there's no money in there on that one right now, but it's just one of these ways for that, in the future, we're going to have to start planning for some of that. Thank you.
Mayor, real quick, I know Home Place Bridge is one also
Yes.
that's ours, and we have had to have a engineer to come out and evaluate some things. So I mean, that, it's good to have a budget line item, because there was some perceived issues with that bridge, and we actually had to have someone come out and give us an evaluation of it. It turned out it was on piers, and what we thought was eroding was not as big of an issue it was. But we did have to pay somebody to come out, and I'm not sure where Paxton found that in engineering's budget at the time. But, I mean, those kind of things can come up from year to year, and we do need to have some budget line item for the dam and bridges.
Most certainly, and because that way we're not managing by crisis.
Right.
We're able to be proactive on that.
Thank you. Any other questions on engineering? All right, planning and development.
Planning and Development's gone through quite a few changes over the last year. Warren has settled in very nicely as the planning director, and I'm trying to think if we had, I don't think we had any. Maybe there was a reclass. So we had, and we've actually hired somebody for we called it one thing, but then there's a reclass to a true number 2, I guess, in that department. If I'm describing that correctly. Okay.
Principal planner, and then through the classic comp study, that was reclassified to assistant planning and development director.
Yes.
That position's gone, and this is taking its place.
Yeah, it was a lot better said than what I
Right.
tried to do.
Right.
So in this department, there weren't a lot of changes in this department either, outside of previously the dilapidated structures, dilapidated house demolition line item was in the police department. We've since changed, as you know, we've had a lot of changes in that whole, how we handle those situations. That's been moved over to the planning department, because that's where the ultimate decision on a code enforcement is not going to make the decision on whether it's dilapidated or not. That's going to reside more so in planning and building. So that's where that funding moved to. So that is a change. We do have some money in here. The mayor would like to do a comprehensive plan update. So we did a full-fledged comprehensive plan citywide, but I think it was right during 2020, and it was chaotic. So we'd like to do maybe a somewhat of a smaller version of that, maybe a little bit less costly, and then a whole one, but kind of an update there, and also maybe some zoning ordinance changes as part of that process as well. Now that we've got Warren, he's got fresh eyes, and he's got some good ideas from some of the other places he's been. So outside of that, there was a vehicle in this budget, but we went ahead and pulled it because it's going to be on the agenda for you guys. I think Strict may be sponsoring that next week or the week or 2 weeks after that. So, but that's it.
All right, any questions under planning and development? None. Just one myself. So I'm looking under our boards and commissions. I'm looking at planning, historic preservation, and board of zoning adjustments. Those amounts there, is that for their certification training and stuff like that?
Historically, that's what it's been used for. There's been a lot of options offered. Not sure how much of that's actually gone on, but that's what that's there for.
Right. I'm just wanted to make sure we were still offering that because it is important, if you're going to fill that position, to understand what you're looking at and why you're making certain decisions. So, good deal. Any other on planning and development? If not, urban management is our next department.
So urban management has a significant role all the way around in terms of obviously the vegetation and the decorations and things of that nature. We do house for our two large events, Parade of Pumpkins and Christmas decorations. They have a line item in here to cover the costs associated with those things that they contribute. All the costs of maintaining the greenhouses in here, as well as some cemetery costs. They upkeep the three actual cemeteries that the city owns. Rental equipment, that's mainly, I think, like lift trucks, scissor lifts, and bucket trucks to help decorate with during those two big events. Capital outlay, they did have several things in capital outlay as part of their normal rotation. We was talking with Dale, we were able to go ahead and purchase those at the end of this fiscal year to keep them out of next year's budget. So we were able to find room for that.
All right. Is there any questions as far as urban management?
So on page 34, Christmas decorations, $30,000, and Parade of Pumpkins, $35,000. This is in addition to what we already have that we are purchasing this year?
Yeah, in terms, and I don't know if I can speak directly in terms of what all's rotated in and out on those, but yeah, somebody else may have to come and say what that's used for specifically.
Mayor or Dale?
Kelly, feel free to come on up as well. You know, we
Well,
do have a
This isn't
talented.
Parks and Rec, this is urban management.
Right, but it also has Christmas stuff. That's the reason why I was mentioning her. But, yeah, we have some talented staff here. Robert Browder is a special person, and he actually is able to create so many of the displays that you see around downtown for Christmas, Parade of Pumpkins, and the banners, and just so many other things. And but some of this also in the Parade of Pumpkins, some of that will be offset by some donations and I guess sponsorships might be the better word. Is that about right? Sponsorships. So, but a lot of the decorations are reused. I know in engineering they had some monies in there as well for the Christmas
Snowflakes.
snowflakes. And we're actually trying to update those, upgrade those, and expand that as well. So I don't know if I answered your question on that one, because it's, especially when it comes to Christmas time, I don't mind saying this out in public. Many, many years ago, when Kelly and I were talking about Christmas and she wanted to give me some of her ideas, I said, you know, I wish you'd let it be a surprise to me like it is everybody else. So do your thing, and her, and of course Lisa Bird's the one who started the Parade of Pumpkins, and it's still going with Dawn and Michaela at the helm on that.
I guess I just don't understand if in the Parade of Pumpkins line item, if that's going to be offset by sponsors, then why is it $35,000 listed there? You know, if we're looking for sponsors, are we hoping for sponsors? Should we adjust that, you know, so that?
Well, in the first tab, the general fund tab where all the revenues are listed, I do have sponsorship dollars in there for Christmas, Parade of Pumpkins, and also the Lyric this year, because we anticipate garnering sponsorships for the Lyric. Christmas and Parade of Pumpkins, that sponsorship dollar is based on what we've historically gotten in the past. So in each of them are right around $30,000 from different companies.
So we're hoping to get all of that sponsored then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I think I'll look real quick just to make sure.
While you're looking at it, I'd be glad to say that it brings, both of these activities bring a large crowd to our downtown, which has actually been so beneficial to our small businesses downtown. And So my opinion is it pays for itself very, very easily.
And I just want to say, just by asking questions, I'm not against it. I'm
Yes, ma'am.
just trying to clarify what the monies are going for. Please don't feel that everything has to be rationalized in terms of, small business and quality control and all of these things.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just asking questions.
I understand.
So I appreciate the answers, and I appreciate, Daniel, you looking into that.
And one suggestion I might have, and Kelly Carter might throw something at me later on, but not too long ago, I was in the warehouse over there at Spillway Park, and it's very, very impressive to me, the organizational skills that have gone on and how they reuse and upcycle and just, they really stretch every dime, every penny out there. And I hear so many accolades about it months and months afterwards. And so it's a great part of being, I guess, a hallmark small-town community.
And I do have, to answer your question, 30,000 each budgeted for Parade of Pumpkins, Christmas, and the Lyric to offset those expenses. Revenue side, yeah.
So, and I understand that because I was asked that question last year. I had a person call me, I had a person call me and wanted to know why we were budgeting that much money for a carousel. And then once I was able to explain to them that there was a donation that covered that, but we had to show the money coming in and we had to show the money going out, they understood that it was covered by the donation and it wasn't a big deal. So, no, the question is valid. I'm all right. Look, I got this. All right. Any other questions under urban management? Facilities maintenance.
All right, facilities maintenance. Trying to think if there were any new position requested here. I don't believe so. So HVAC maintenance, we actually opened that bid yesterday. It's a large $200,000 deal, and we opened that bid yesterday. And it's to be determined, I guess, whoever the low bidder was. But that'll be coming before y'all for approval. We also house maintenance costs for the museum building behind me, next to City Hall, the library maintenance, maintenance of this building at City Hall, and then the City Hall Annex. And we've historically maintained some money in here for the bank building maintenance, but I've moved that to the Stripland Business Center new fund. So you'll see that over there.
All right, any questions under facilities maintenance? All right, Public Works.
So the Public Works Department, no new changes here as far as position requests. We do have $100,000 in lot improvements that are budgeted, and this has kind of been I guess it's a 10-year plan in Public Works lot improvements, and you've seen it with the initial building that was done up front, and then there's, the sanitation and urban management big building that was done there, and then the other building on the side. So we're going to continue that process. I think this year it's more of some, I don't know, dirt work's not the right word, but leveling of the lot on the backside. And everything else is pretty much status quo.
Okay. Any questions as far as the Public Works tab? All right, Police Department.
So, Police Department, think of what significant changes they may have had. We do have 2 canines now, so a few of the canine costs went up, but that's fairly nominal. All right, so one large expense are the patrol rifles, so those last, I'm gonna say 10 years, that may not be exactly correct, but we're gonna start cycling some of those patrol rifles out. So that's one kind of newish expense for this year. E911 contract, you'll see the large portion of this in the police department. There's about 2% of the contract in the fire department. That was negotiated 2 years ago for a 2-year contract, so we did increase it a little bit because both red team and blue team are very satisfied and happy with their relationship with E911 and how that's going. And so they certainly felt and agreed that an increase was justified. So we've kind of negotiated a 2-year step increase there. So the new figure is represented in the budget before you. And then we have, so one thing I will say, they could come up here and go through this more if they want to. There's $20,000 in electronic messaging signs, so those are the kind of mobile signs that we use downtown for events. And then in capital outlay, we do have 5 vehicles. They came to me, and they're looking with the number of officers that they have and the aging of the fleet of the vehicles. Typically, we'll buy 5 a year. They came to me late this last fiscal year wanting to see what we could do to go ahead and kind of help out with that. So we were able to buy 7, if you all remember a couple months ago. And then this will be the other 5, and it'll pull on that same bid that we put out.
Okay.
Yeah, Chief, where are we on head count right now with police officers? I know we're still under, we've had retirements and all that. I know every year it's a struggle because we go for quality, not quantity. So how are you on your head count?
Right now, we're at 92, but it looks like we're gonna be able to put the largest class we've ever put through in the academy. We're shooting for 10 or more, and the academy starts that one. November. We hopefully, and we have the recruits that we think our recruitment has gone up since Chief Hassel's been involved in it, and we're getting quality people. But we do have retirements, and some people are not happy and think the grass is greener in other places, and they find out it's not. So while I'm up here, I'd like to address the buying local. There's certain things, we have bought local for years, and we've tried it, and it hadn't worked out on certain equipment we use. And our job as staff is to keep our cars on the street. And one of the locals, we had problems, and we moved, and we found right now we can get a car in, have it equipped and striped with 2 weeks after it comes in. And that's our main goal, and it's quality work. We're not having to take it back and get it redone. So that's one of the things we look at.
And with this seventh vehicle fleet, is that going to be apples to apples? Like, are we going to increase any additional cars, or we're just moving out 7, bringing in new 7, or how's that work?
We will, the cars that are still good and functional, the high mileage, we'll put them in reserve, and then the next year we'll surplus those. But these will keep every officer in a car.
And it's just one car per shift, right? So we're not, yeah.
Yes, we don't double up cars. That's a quick way of wearing a car out.
Yeah. I guess the only new position is the City Hall security officer.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, I missed that one.
That's okay. HR had put it in their report.
Good. Check me on
It'll
this.
be a retired officer like we had. I think Clint Lee was the last one that had that position.
Yeah, out front, yeah,
Mhm.
okay. All right, any other questions for Chief or on the police department? All right, thank you, G. Fire Department.
Well, fire department, as you know, Councilman Whaley has very detailed notes, second only to the Parks and Rec Department. But
Because I left.
so there were a couple of position changes here. I know there was a request for a new position in the fire marshal's office to assist with the all the building inspections and other things that that office handles. And then it's kind of a deputy / assistant fire chief. We currently have one position that we found out, I guess, earlier that there's going to be a retirement there, and then he's wanting to change that to a slightly different position, but it's kind of a number 2, I guess, and really back to, I think, the way it used to be.
It was,
Yeah.
yes. That ended in January 1st of 2001. That'd be when I retired.
Okay. Let's see. Now, if I don't want to shortchange any department, so they're welcome to obviously come up here and they know this stuff in more depth than I do. But if I were to skip somewhere, I'd skip to the capital project or capital outlay portion. We get a Homeland Security grant pretty much every year, and there's $33,000 budgeted in there for that, and the grant money is also budgeted in the revenue side to offset it. He does have 2 support vehicles in here, $60,000 each. We've got some equipment for the aerial ladder and a ladder truck. So the big expense is the $1.4 million ladder truck that was ordered probably 5 or 6 years ago, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So what we've done, just so you guys know too, and what we're trying to do is very similar to with the dam reserve maintenance and the bridge repair maintenance reserve funds, is we're trying to be proactive. This ladder truck we're going to pay cash for, and that's, $1.5 million we're going to pay cash for. And we've done that because we've set aside $700,000 each year for 2 years plus the equipment for this next year. So we've kind of accumulated that, and we started doing that with fire because all of their equipment is big and expensive. So we try to plan it out, and it also, nowadays it takes 2 or 3 years to get it. So as soon as we place an order, we go ahead and start factoring in, all right, I want to save half of this ambulance this year, half next year. We're split the fire truck into 3s, and that's what we've done with the fire truck that we got and paid for at the beginning of this current fiscal year. This ladder truck is one, then we got one more coming. So that's kind of been the thought process, and it's worked out very well so far, I think, for both finance and fire.
All right, and I apologize, Chief, you were a deputy chief after I left, so. Any questions for the fire department? All right, not hearing any, we'll move to the building department.
Building department, I don't recall there being any changes at all other than the impact of the compensation and classification plan.
Any questions under building? All right, Parks and Recreation.
Was there one reclass? Several. I know one reclass was requested to bump up to another athletics coordinator from what's that? And then there are 2 new requests for park attendants to help with the security of the parks after hours.
2 part-time park security attendants, yes, sir. Athletics program coordinator.
And that was a reclass from an existing kind of assistant coordinator to a true coordinator position to kind of help have one person per sport, basically.
Excuse me, we also deleted a service maintenance worker position, and I do not have that in the notes. So that salary, she had went over budgeted last year that they never filled, so that position is gone.
Okay, so there was a service maintenance worker position budgeted that was never filled, so it was removed from the budget.
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, questions on Parks and Recreation? I'm sure the answers are in the documentation provided. Any questions on Parks and Recreation?
I have a quick question, not really necessarily just Parks and Rec, but looking at their credit card processing fees. Daniel, do you know as citywide what we spend on credit card processing fees?
I do not. Now, the credit cards that are in their department are going to primarily be the Square devices that are, at the concession stands. I don't know. I'd have to add some numbers together.
Is that, Kelly, is that what this is for the concession stands? I guess in my head, it was for program fees when parents come in.
To be honest with you, Daniel puts that portion.
Okay.
He handles all of the fees associated with the Square and any of the, controllers that we have.
Yeah.
Run the credit cards, so I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Can you give me a page number? What exactly?
Yeah, it's on page 59.
We do pay a percentage fee when they run a credit card at the concession stands, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's what that.
Yes.
That particular
179.
one.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, that's what that is. It's the Square devices.
Mhm. And then I'm sure we pay, excuse me, just like we do in finances when people come to register for program.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because it definitely does add up.
Ma'am.
I said it definitely adds
Oh, it
up.
does, yes.
Through all of the departments.
So, like our JP Morgan cards? So we have a, they don't like the term rebate, they call it revenue share program. So we use JP Morgan as the vendor for our procurement cards that the city uses for all of our purchases. We have roughly 90 credit cards out there that different employees have. And it's based on our spend level, but our spend level gets us up to about 2.1% return, I think, and it's about $70,000 in money that we get back from the cards that we use to pay for things. So the two probably offset pretty close, but I've never looked at it side by side.
All right, any further questions on Parks and Recreation? If not, we'll go to Creative Arts.
A second, Parks and Recreation is 20 pages long.
It's all right. I know there is Cultural Arts Special Events Assistant as a new, is that a new position or a reclass? That's a new? Okay. Right, yeah.
Anything in particular, Kelly, you want me to mention? I don't want to shortchange anybody. They know this stuff inside and out.
Just to go back on the Christmas question from Urban Management, I didn't want to get up when they were up. Chris's budget takes care of all of the lights that you see in the trees downtown, up Main Street to Walgreens. They take care of Maple Street, the arches, they take care of the bridges, all of the overhanging lights down the street, any type of replacement bulbs for that, the lights out of Creek Walk, the pedestrian bridge, the arches that we put on Bridge Street. So they take care of all of the lighting. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put that many strands of lights, and then they take care of the replacement when there's vandalism. Unfortunately, we do get a lot of cut lights throughout Christmas time. Our portion of Christmas is offset with sponsorships. Just like when we bought the train for this year, that was paid for by a sponsorship. We also receive sponsorships for the ice skating rink that we apply to that, even though the ice skating rink has been paid for several years now. So our budget may increase because we do try to bring in a new feature every year just to keep it fresh and get people excited about coming. But we do try to offset that with the sponsorships that we bring in.
Has the new tree come in yet?
It's being delivered tomorrow.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Any idea how many people actually come through?
165,000 in the month of December. 165,000 in just the month of December downtown. Yes, sir.
So no questions for performing creative arts? All right. Community initiatives is our next tab. We are going to go ahead and finish with our remaining tabs so that we can go through our enterprise and special revenue funds, and then we will come back to community initiatives.
Do you mind if I hit on the transfers tab just really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead. We can go over that one. No problem.
So transfers tab, basically, the general fund is the one that accumulates and receives a lot of the revenues, especially for the 1 cent buckets. The expenses for those are oftentimes project-related and/or debt service-related. So you record the revenue in the general fund, and then it gets transferred to another fund, whether it's the debt service fund or the capital projects fund. So that's where I've detailed out, and I've done it by project, so you can see exactly, or by debt service piece, you can see exactly what it's for and where it's going. The general fund helps supplement the gas tax fund for our internally required gas tax paving amount. General fund also supplements the judicial fund by roughly a little under 400,000 this year. And then you'll see the 1 cent buckets going to capital projects and the debt service.
All right. Gas tax fund. Any questions on transfers? All right, gas tax.
So on the gas tax fund, you see the different types of revenues we have coming in. You've got the 10-cent Rebuild Alabama gas tax, so that's the most recently passed tax. It's also the largest revenue stream outside of the transfers coming in for various projects from the general fund. I think at Tuesday night's meeting, or no, this past meeting, I think you guys passed the Rebuild Transportation Plan that we have to do. I also have to provide you guys an annual report on that for the previous year, I think by the end of January each year. And you see the different projects we have in this fund. Gardner Road paving, we've got 2 MPO projects. One of them's a state MPO, one of them's a local MPO, I believe. Sheila Boulevard and 4th Street. We have our CDBG project for the College Heights paving project, and that's ongoing. We're getting close to the construction piece of that one. And then we have, historically have done a every 2-year local paving project that has all the various streets based on kind of loosely the grading of those roads. And so we've got a little over $1 million scheduled for that, as well as some cemetery paving too for $160,000.
All right, any questions under our gas tax fund? All right, capital projects fund.
So this, and I'm not going to read it to you, but this kind of breaks down all of the different grant pieces. So the majority of our projects have grant components to them. A lot of them are 80-20 grants, but not all. And it breaks it down between, whether the grant's coming from the state, the grant's coming from the federal government, or a lot of these are kind of pass-throughs, and I'll just put them in grant income. Ultimately, they may end up on our schedule of expenditures of federal awards in that they originate as grant dollars passed through the state down to us. But it's kind of detailed out, and whether the revenue's coming in from a transfer from the general fund, infrastructure 1 cent bucket, for example, and then each project has its own line item that's kind of broken down, and I try and put in there whether it's whatever the funding source is.
Okay. Any questions on capital projects fund?
And I guess the prioritization of the projects, most of these are going to be prioritized by Paxton and engineering, and we kind of sit down and go through and say, hey, these are the ones that we're wrapping up this year. These are the ones, that are most important, and I cover what I can until I run out of money.
All right, moving into our enterprise funds and special revenue funds, the wastewater enterprise fund.
So wastewater fund is extremely large this year, and that's because of the 2 big projects that we're anticipating issuing bonds and or CWSRF loans for, the Fay Branch and Otaga Creek treatment plant projects. So the fund itself is very inflated just because of the anticipated bond issuance. All this money is not going to be spent within the fiscal year. It's going to take 3 fiscal years to get these projects done. But I go ahead and budget for the full debt proceeds in the year we're going to issue the debt, and then you won't have that in subsequent years. You'll just have whatever's left on the project. We did factor in the change in the wastewater rate that was passed, so that's reflected in here as well.
Okay, any questions under wastewater enterprise fund? All right, sanitation.
Sanitation is going to be very similar. There was also a rate change that was implemented effective October 1st. I've talked to Buddy Buckner, been in communication with him at the Prattville Waterworks Board, who handles the billing for the vast majority of our wastewater and sanitation customers, and they're good to go on those rate changes as far as what they need to do. And the new rates and anticipated revenues reflected in here. We do also have budgeted gain on loss on fixed assets. Basically, it's surplus proceeds, and Tracy intends on trading in an ASL truck, and you'll see that he's got a couple, I believe it's 2. Yeah, Tracy's got 2 ASL trucks budgeted for purchase at $320,000 each. We've adjusted some of the numbers for increases in auto maintenance as well as tipping fees. City continues to grow. The number of cans out there continue to grow, so all those related expenses grow with it.
All right, any questions on sanitation? I had one just for total number of employees. Are we still down some? I know there wasn't any new requested, but are our current positions filled?
We are lacking several.
Okay.
Not sure how many.
Okay. Okay, good. I just knew I haven't had any calls that said garbage had not been picked up. But I know they working hard to get it, so. All right, any other questions on sanitation?
I got a quick one. Are we setting aside enough money for future purchases on trucks and equipment? Maybe not playing from behind, but, staying on top of it?
Yes, so that was one of the main focuses of the rate increase was the need to kind of upgrade our fleet and have a quicker rotation on them so that we don't get buried in auto maintenance cost, and there's still some value in those trucks that we can surplus and get some proceeds off of. In the current year, I've got, you'll see on page 2 of the little colorful handout I gave you, roughly $840,000 that are kind of going into reserves, anticipated to go into reserves for that. And that'll help us, because he's got 2 budgeted, but there always seems to be needs that pop up during the year that we need to go ahead and transition.
All right, any other questions on sanitation? All right, judicial fund.
So the main thing in the judicial fund, I would say there's 2 main things. The main expense is the Metro Jail expense. We are still working on an agreement with the county, so we currently don't have an agreement. It expired at the end of last year. We've been operating status quo. They just reopened the jail in the spring sometime, and I told them once they actually reopen and our guys are back in there, then we can work on finalizing some things. I've sent them the numbers I'm comfortable with doing. Haven't got anything back yet, but I've budgeted what I'm comfortable with, which I think is reasonable, so we should be able to get there. I will say this, the revenues are up in judicial. Having the police department more fully staffed results in more work for the judicial department, and the things that they have. And so that's been positive in the terms of the deficit in this fund is not quite as large as it usually is. Sometimes it's been 700,000, well, it's less than 400,000 this year that the general fund has to supplement it.
All right, any questions on judicial?
I have one question. Are we anticipating a rate increase, you said with the jail?
Well, they proposed one, and I sent it back because I'm not interested in paying. Our numbers are not increasing, and I'm not interested in paying for, the newness necessarily. But I don't mind what I would consider kind of a inflation-related increase. So what I've pitched to them is where we are now, just adding on 2% each year over the course of 5 years, which is just like we handle our tower leases that we have in the city. And I think their initial pitch to us was 3%, and I told them I'd be comfortable with 2%. But we don't have a signed agreement yet either, so we're still negotiating.
Any other questions for judicial? All right, our new account, the Stripling Business Center.
And this one may be the biggest educated guess, I guess, on what I anticipate this to be. But I did set this Stripling Business Center up as an enterprise fund because it is going to house, it's basically a real estate venture. We're housing companies currently on the 3rd and 1st floors. We're going to have an additional tenant on the 1st floor. The 2nd floor is going to be partly used for some training areas for human resources and other city departments, and then the rest of it will be used for a small business incubator, and those will have rents associated with them as well. So we've got revenue coming in, and there are some expenses associated with it as well that I've taken kind of a stab at what I anticipate those being in terms of utilities and some building maintenance things. And then we do have 2 very large capital projects in here. One of them is for the 1st floor renovations, and one of them is for the 2nd floor, which includes the training and the incubator space. And there will be additional, this is kind of the first year, I haven't really accounted for it this way currently, so there will be what I call a capital contribution for the work that's been done on the facility itself already. And this is just the 2 bank buildings that are attached, so it's not the Lyric, it's not, Uncle Beck's, it's just those 2 buildings there. And so the general fund and the capital projects fund has done work in there already. Well, I'm going to pull that out eventually and put it as equity into the Stripling Business Center, just very similar to how we did sanitation and wastewater and judicial when we pulled those out of the general fund.
Can you give me an idea of when we should expect the 2nd and 3rd floor renovations to be completed?
Well, we've been tentatively, officially, to be determined, granted some money from Senator Brett, and that's going to cover the 2nd floor stuff. So we're really kind of dependent upon some federal government. You come up and tell, you got the words.
While you're coming up there, 3rd floor is complete, right? Tenant is moved in and we are collecting?
Yes, sir.
The tenant has moved in, and that particular tenant is paying rent and a portion of the renovation cost. So, as far as the 2nd floor, we were, he says tentatively awarded because nothing's final until the budget's passed federally.
Right.
So it's $2.2 million to go toward that effort, and that can be used for renovations, programming, other things. So certainly we want to give that time to get there and get the budgets passed, but it will be dependent on the budget passing.
Any other questions? Any other questions on the new fund for the Stripling Business Center? I do like the fact that we have it in an enterprise fund so that we can show what revenue comes in, what expenses go out. It's a lot more clear in order to see that way as it's technically it is a real estate venture. So-
We acquired the building very cheap, 2.3? 1.3. $1.3 million. And it's, you know, at the time was worth five point something million. So it's been a good investment, and we knew going in, we would need to renovate it to a different use, and that's what we're working on.
Yep. Any other questions on Stripling Business Center? All right, debt service funds.
So the debt service fund houses the debt service for the city as a whole, and we've broken it down where the revenues are coming in from, the transfers in, and then each debt service piece should be on a different page that has it broken down by principal and interest. And I will say this is everything in the government type activities. It excludes wastewater debt. Wastewater debt is funded within the wastewater fund.
Right. All right, we will go, if there are no other questions about that, we'll go back to our Community Initiatives tab. Let's take a 5-minute recess before we start Community Initiatives. It is 7:01, we'll come back about 7:06.
Hey, were they good?
Yeah. So any of our department heads that were here for questions that we may or may not have asked? I don't think there's any more questions for you, so.
I guess if y'all, I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to think of how. Yeah. So you anticipate it being part of community initiatives, is that the main general, or are you on like paving streets, or you just, whatever? Or just depends? It could be, I mean. Yeah, I got a lady that works for me who's called us cheerleading squad, and she's telling me about all the different things they're doing. Yeah. Raising money. I'll tell you, if you can get buy-in from these folks. Okay, that'll work.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:07. As soon as Daniel gets back, we will carry on. All right, wait on Daniel anyway. All right, Mr. Oakley has returned. All right, we are under our Community Initiatives tab now.
So community initiatives, we've always kind of split them up into two different departments, one of them being city county services, the other one being community initiatives. They're really, all can be lumped together. So on all of these, I've been asked to kind of keep them the same as last year, regardless of the request or what they spent the money on or whatever, with the exception of a couple of things. If I can find those. So we have zeroed out rural transportation. We've historically provided them, I think it's $15,000. That was zeroed out. And then there were two additions. One of them for a group called Liberty Learning. It's $1,000. It's basically a civics course for maybe first or second graders. And Statue of Liberty comes in and does some educational things for the kiddos. And then also $10,000 for a warming center that's kind of being worked on. In the past, we've had public safety building or a room in the public safety building as a warming center area when it got really, really cold. So we're trying to find an alternate group to kind of help facilitate that for us. Other than that, everything should be what it was last year.
Okay. I know there's going to be questions about several of these. I guess my initial thought is that we can go down these, and if you can, I think that the standard process is we send out notifications if you want to request funding for this year's budget.
We've done it differently kind of over the years, and it involves city clerk's office and finance. We kind of volley back and forth on it. So once the budget is passed, typically there's a letter that goes out that details out our process. And our process, and Paula, step in if I miss a step here. Our process is once the budget's been passed and their allocation is approved by you guys, they are to reach out to the city clerk's office, schedule a time to come in to sign the agreement. And then once they sign the agreement, Paula then goes to the mayor's, or sends it over to the mayor's office. He signs the agreement, and then she puts in the purchase order along with all the signed support over to finance to cut the check.
Okay, so that is to expend the funds. How about getting in the budget itself?
Well, I should say this. Within that letter that's sent out, there is discussion of the required reporting the reporting that is required. And I believe it has a date in there of when they're supposed to have that turned in by. It's either July 1st or June 1st. It's been both. May have been June 1st this year, July 1st the year before. And that's kind of the information there. This year, we didn't send out letters to solicit the reporting, I guess, and other requests, allocation requests. We have done that in the past. At least one year we did that, maybe when the first year that we started requiring this reporting. And it's been maybe 3 or 4 years that we've required reporting on an annual basis.
Okay. So, I guess one more question, I'm just trying to be clear on this. So, these are mostly what was in there last year and they're level funded.
Except for the 3 that I mentioned.
Right,
Yes.
but there are some who haven't even requested funding for this year. We just assume they want funding for this year, or is it?
There are some that have not requested funding. I tried to count them, and I think there were 5 or 6. There have been 2 that have turned in recently, one of them this afternoon, a request. And there may be 5 or 6 out of 28 or so that haven't requested. And a couple of these have been reimbursement basis agreements. So there's a guy doing the Boy Scout Memorial over in front of the county courthouse. That was a $10,000 that's been in there, but it's only on a reimbursement basis. Same thing with one Community Outreach United. They were doing some historical sign work stuff, but it was only on a reimbursement basis that they would get paid out. And they haven't requested reimbursement.
Okay.
Neither one of those groups, actually.
Okay,
Or allocation. They didn't request allocation for this year either, but they didn't request for reimbursement for any of the expenses or if they had any during the year.
I guess, so that brings one question that I had. So we budgeted $10,000 for the Boy Scout Memorial Movement last year.
Correct.
And then we did not, I know it was a reimbursement basis, but we did not expend those funds. So where are those funds now?
They would roll in, so this is a general fund, any unspent money surplus money is what I would call it, would roll into FDR.
Okay.
And we don't specifically allocate FDR to community initiatives. It's only been for departments that came in under budget.
Yeah, no, I didn't know if we might have a place, I mean, if we continue to do, this is the 3rd year for the 10,000?
I don't think so.
So that's
probably.
30,000 that's gone into FDR. There's nowhere for us to put the 10,000 for the memorial.
If you want to bank it, I mean, yeah, that's feasible. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, otherwise, we're gonna continue to budget for those amounts every year, and then it's gonna roll into FDR, and it's gonna be, I realize that it's utilized for something else, but that's taking up a $10,000 spot in the budget.
I don't have any issue with adding community initiatives as an FDR component, just like the other departments. I mean, that doesn't bother me, but.
One of the thought process might be just eliminate that 10,000, still leave it in as a footnote, and if the project comes back around, amend the budget.
Yeah, I mean, either that or we, said we put it in, we've budgeted, it's there, it's factored into the last 3 years' budget, it's factored in, and then we don't spend it, and then it goes into FDR and it's spent on something else, and then we budget it again at another 10,000 this year, and if it's not spent, I'm just saying, if we budget it and it's not spent, we put it in there where if he does spend it, it's there, we reimburse him that amount, it's been budgeted, it's been approved, it was there, and then it's in that account, and we don't include it in the budget every year.
No, I can make that change, yeah.
Okay. All right, so.
That would be, I guess, prospectively, but yeah.
I was just gonna piggyback on that. I know there's monies in here that are budgeted for a group that I don't think is requested money. That's 10 grand that can go to someone else that's getting a little less than what they were asking for. So I'd like to balance it out that way if we can to make sure we don't lose the person that needs it that's short money from what they're asking, so.
And I think that's our intention, because there was a lot of talk about community initiatives, you know, leading up to the election and then the last budget and all that. So I think that's the intention, is to let you guys kind of figure out how you want to, where you want these funds to be.
And I know, well, we'll just go ahead and, I guess, start down through those. So, I guess instead of jumping around, we'll just go line by line and see if there's any questions on the community initiatives, or city county services. So, Talk County Health Department, is that standard? That's.
So that's around the corner. The city actually owns the building, leases it to the county health group, and it's been, I think it was 10,000 for a while. We increased it to 12 since COVID sometime, but that's pretty standard, yeah.
Okay.
There's
So
no
there was no
complaints.
request for additional funds?
Well, I don't have all those in front of me, so I sent a link for all those, so I don't have them all compiled
Okay.
about who requested what and if it's different than last year.
And then Otago Rural Transportation, that was removed. Was there,
So the rationale, you want to handle or you want? That one, I think, is the one I emailed y'all earlier today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and I think we're all aware is that our Otago County Commissioners have levied a half-cent sales tax in all of Otago County, but I think it hits all of us here, even in Prattville. And so I guess my rationale on removing that is really two things. This service is something that Otago County started on their own. Our other county partners on the other side of the interstate do not have this service, so this is not a required service. This is something that Otago County elected decades ago to have. I had requested from them any kind of documentation, agreements, or communications that might have been between the current administrations and the current county commissioners at the time, and I was not provided any. But my thought process was, since this was a elected service that they decided to have decades ago, plus they have increased revenues from Prattville, I feel like that they ought to just pay for that service themselves.
I had a couple of comments on it. I know you and I have talked about it before. I don't have a problem with the rural transportation piece myself, or even supporting it a little bit, only because I do know that they bring residents from the county into the city. A lot of times they bring them in for medical reasons and other things like that. And then you can use it from inside the city limits of Prattville as well to go to places, especially like hospitals in Montgomery. But I also have talked to a couple of county commissioners, and I understand that, they realize that we may not be funding it this year, and I don't have a problem with that money's going somewhere else that I think we might look at. In this case, we don't put much in it based on what they pay on it, really, overall. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with not funding it, but I do want to make sure we don't minimize the importance of it. I do think it is an important service. We are in Otago County, and citizens do use it, and there is some benefit to it. But as far as this year, I'm not going to argue against the funding for it.
Well, if I can piggyback a little bit as well, I have asked for a business plan from them. This was, 12 years ago probably, and still they never did provide any of that. I also requested some other additional information, was that, because as we all know, Prattville is in 2 counties, what services are they providing in Elmore County, and they were not able to provide that data to me as well. But again, I mentioned it at the last council meeting, and you'll hear me talking more and more about it, is that our corporate limits, we're tasked to provide services inside of our corporate limits. There's some services, even like in the police jurisdiction, we provide that police service in the police jurisdiction. We get no compensation for it at all. Matter of fact, when our officers arrest someone in the police jurisdiction, take them to jail, and let me just back up a little bit, a 911 call comes in for a call of our police officers go to a police jurisdiction area, and we get deemed at the 911 level for that. And then if our officers have to arrest somebody in the police jurisdiction, take them to jail, then we also get dinged on that end of it. So we are providing a service there that, a free service to our neighbor that we're not being recognized on except for pay us for that service. So again, my rationale was that they have not provided a business plan from many years ago. This is a service that they created. Not all counties have this. Elmore County is a prime example there. And I just don't see where we need to continue funding this, especially since they have increased the half penny in our district, in our community. But I will say this, if anybody has any pull with our county commissioners as we move down the pathway of deciding on education in Prattville, if they would repeal their half penny sales tax in Prattville and let our children receive that through a council, potentially a council action, that could go a long ways to help educate the children of Prattville.
I'm not arguing any of those points. I'd actually rather have some pull in Elmore County if somebody knows, so we can get some of that money back this way, but we can talk about that.
And I would, as far as Autauga Rural Transportation, which is what we're talking about here, I would like, I mean, that would be a question I would have as well. 85% of my district's in Elmore County. So if we're expending taxpayer dollars to support Autauga Rural Transportation, my question would be, are they going to come over to the east side of Prattville in Elmore County to pick people up and take them somewhere? So that was, I guess, a question for them, that we can't answer that, but. So is there any other discussion on Autauga County Rural Transportation?
How long have we been supporting them, Daniel? And then my other question would be, when we speak of, they did not respond, 12 years ago or whatever, have we requested recently for that information, or are we looking at something that far ago to make that determination?
I haven't asked for the business plan, but I have had communications with the county administrator.
But we've not asked for that recently?
Business plan?
Yeah.
Not this year, no, ma'am.
In the last 5 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so they're just non-communicative to you whenever you ask for that?
I don't know exactly how I might classify that.
You're not getting what you're asking for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back as far as I can.
It's been going on since I know prior to 2004.
Okay, well, I can only go back to 2007.
And how much was that in the previous year's budget?
So previous year's budget was 15,000. It was 15 back to 21, and it was 10,000 from 20 back to 2011. And I showed 2010, there may have been 22,000 paid.
Okay.
I can't see anything before that.
And then I don't have my printout of all of the, Mr. Newman, you may have it. Did they make a request?
That's what I think I emailed you that one. It came in after I sent the initial,
Okay.
Councilor Langley had asked.
So it
for
didn't
all
come
of
in
them.
by the deadline, it came in after?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. But there was a request.
Okay.
And it's usually 50,000, that's what they usually ask for. I'll look and see.
So it's usually 50 and we've allocated 15.
In the current year, we've allocated 0.
Right, but previous year?
Yes, sir. It's 40,000 was their request this
40?
year.
Okay, 40 was the request. All right. Any further on Watauga County Rural Transportation? All right. Humane Society.
What did they ask for this year? Does anybody have,
I've got the folder. I can probably,
They asked for 135.
135, okay. Do you have them all? Wait. Do you have them all, like, listed out?
I have a list of them that I got from you, but, and I got last year's and what their request was.
I would like to see us meet what they have asked for, if at all possible. They have been very aware of coming to us and keeping us up to date with what they're dealing with their numbers. I think they serve a very, very valuable purpose here in our community, and I would like to see us support them at that level. That's 15,000 more than,
Yeah, and I know there's a group that I don't believe has requested money that's budgeted in here for 10,000, and I'd like to move that into that and try to get it closer to the 135, so.
Well, and I was looking at just now, even talking about the rural transportation, if we're gonna take that money out for them, why not just roll that over?
We don't have anything budgeted for them.
I think that's reasonable.
That's what I'm saying, since we didn't, we took.
And Mr. Chair, if I might, just real quick, just so I guess the public knows. Anyway, my thoughts are this community initiatives, I really want to get it out of what I call the east wing of City Hall. And because Daniel and I have so many various things going on, and it's really becoming a political potato, so to speak. And so many of these items in here were intentionally left status quo. Intentionally was removed was rural transportation, for example, and there was one or two that were intentionally added in there, but everything else was intentionally left status quo for y'all to make the decision on it. And for many, many years, I've been asking that a funding source be found, located to help fund these. So that way, in the good years, their funding numbers can go up. And like with our department heads, if it's the lean years and our budget, their budgets have to come down, then the community initiatives follow that same trend. Or I've asked about a dollar amount for it to be levied out. But and I have had some communications with our city attorney over here, and anyway, I just feel like that we need to find, we already have a process, and over the years it has worked, and now it's the climate has changed, and so I think it's a lot better for my office and the finance department basically get out of the community initiatives, so that way it's not a political football.
Okay. And I have, I'm sure the council would feel the same way. You can feel free to speak up. I don't see any reason not to pursue that for next year's budget, but I don't think we're gonna get that done in a week and then try to pass this year's budget. So we've got to come to some consensus as far as the community initiatives. And we're looking at, I guess, basically the total here from what you have as far as where the budget is balanced. We're looking at 1.812950.
You can combine the two together, I would say. If you wanted to move one from community initiatives over to city county services, that's not a problem either. So if you add the 400 and something thousand plus, is that right? 542,000 plus the 1.8.
Okay.
And then some of that, though, be careful, is the Pratt. So the Pratt's kind of allocated and not really touchable.
Right,
'cause
it's
our-
allocated by
yeah.
ordinance.
Right.
And if again, Mr. Chair, the one community outreach, those are the historical markers. It's printed here in the footnotes, and that was for our College Heights area. And one of the changes that had happened with this current budget was that they had to expend funds for a project, and before we would reimburse them.
Right.
So that's been a little bit of a challenge, I believe, for them to find that money. So that is one reason why they have not been, I think, successful this year.
Okay.
But that is also a project I wish would continue on, because our heritage, our history in College Heights, for it to be documented through these historical markers, I think is money's well spent.
And that was budgeted this past year and not spent, so it could go into that FDR for community initiatives.
Yes, sir. That, and for 26, I've made a note to factor in a line item for that as its own department.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that way, if they did complete the work this year, the money would be there to do the reimbursement. And then if we wanted to fund additional next year, we could fund those in there.
I missed the second part.
I'm saying if we put that money, because it was budgeted and not expended, if we put that in there, and then this year they do complete those projects and they want reimbursement for that, we have those funds in there to reimburse the projects. And if there are additional projects for next year, we can look at allocating more funds for that.
Yep.
But, I mean, we allocated $10,000 last year that was not used. So it doesn't make sense for me to continue, if we can put that into an account where if they do complete it, we have the money there to reimburse what's done. And then next year, if there are additional markers that need to be done, all of that's been reimbursed, we can look at reallocating more funds next year. Otherwise, I mean, these 10,000 add up, and now we've got 50, 60, 70,000 in FDR funds that we're utilizing for something else that were initially budgeted for community initiatives that could have been used for another community initiative possibly.
And I would say even a step further, you could, as that balance grows in community initiatives, you don't have to tie it to the same one. You could reallocate it to, a special something that comes up or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
I would just caution too, Council President Wiley, that if they have not spent the money, they probably also have not signed a contract for services. So if they were to be reimbursed, we would need that contract to go along with that for the expenditures of those funds.
Okay.
Hey, Paula, speaking of contract services, which ones can you tell us we still need to get done, or that would need to have? I know we didn't, like the library, what else was left to do?
I believe the only thing that's left this year is the one community outreach, and maybe the Boy Scouts, because they were on a reimbursement and they have not expended the money to come back to it. But as of, I think, probably last week, the last one had
Okay, just want to make
completed
sure
this.
everybody's.
They skipped a step. They
covered.
did not sign the contract for services, but they had sent in their reporting like they were supposed to do, and Daniel had cut the check, but I wouldn't release the check because we did not have that contract for services signed yet.
Who was that?
Creek.
Yeah.
And that's for 25, 26, right? Yeah,
The current year, yes.
yeah.
The letters won't go out for anybody to do anything until after a budget is passed, because each letter is very specific to the amount that they were awarded in the budget.
Right. And the community initiative resolution this coming year will have the language in it that there will not be any funds issued until the agreement has been signed.
Yes, and that was what we've had that at least the last 3 years in there. This last year, the only thing that we changed is we did move up the deadline from July the 1st in reporting to June the 1st in reporting, because we explained in the letter that this council wanted to be able to review the budget a little bit longer, so we needed to back that date up in order for Daniel and them to have the information to provide.
And they were all here by June the 1st?
Oh, no, not many were.
I didn't think.
Matter of fact, we're missing
5 or
several,
6.
5 or 6 now.
One of them came in at 3:30 today, so.
All right, so I'm open to suggestions from the council as far as to how you want to proceed through these community initiatives. I mean, we can go through every one of them and discuss them, but I don't know how long that's gonna.
I don't see it necessary when some of these, no, it's, people, no. I do have a question. Patty, you've been here the whole time, so I guess you get to, can I ask you a question? I mean, you stayed for 2 hours, so maybe you deserve it. Your request this year is that there's an increase. What, yeah, come on up, Patty, come on up. Well, you like you need, get blood flowing. Yeah, so, we're all aware of all the work you guys do, which is amazing, even with Bob over there with you, but, explain to everyone the, increase and what it's geared toward.
Well, we've kind of looked back over the years. I know economic development got moved out of the chamber in 2020, and we haven't really had an increase since then. We never really did before. It was more of a percentage of the lodging tax, and then it went to a flat amount of $500,000. So just giving you some history. And then when economic development got moved out, 300 of that went with that to here at the city, and we kept the remaining 200. So we've been, over the years, kind of using those funds. I've reported, I've turned in the reports and everything on how we've used the funds. But this year, we decided that it might be a good time for us to look at having an increase. I know there's a line item in the budget that talks about economic development events, that's $50,000. We had talked about, as a board, saying, can we just put that 50 into the 200, and then we asked for an additional 100,000. And what we want to do with that is start to ramp up some more programs that we've been wanting to do, having to do with our partnership with the Small Business Incubator, some of our program of work where we have tourism. We've instigated a new app, education. We've got a new education program called the Entrepreneurial Opportunities Program. So there's things that we want to do, but we just need the resources to be able to do that, and that's what the request is for.
And y'all have increased membership dramatically over the last year or two.
Yes, yes, and then just things that, costs have gone up, obviously, everybody knows that. But really, the idea behind it all is that we really want to take our chamber to the next level with some more programs and initiatives that can help the membership, help the community, the small businesses. We've started small business focus groups to kind of get some ideas of what they may need. So there's a lot of initiatives that we'd like to, and I put it in the report in the ask in there as to, and I try to outline that to say, this is what we've done with the money, this is what we'd like to do with the increase, this is how we're going to account for it, so.
Well, since we have the chamber up here, any other questions?
Being a newbie, I don't really understand what you're talking about with the 50,000 that is reimbursed or borrowed, or?
Yeah, I think it's more for, it was a line item in there for, maybe there was some projects, like with Owens Corning. There was some monies that ran through there for the project itself, and we just got reimbursed out of that 50.
So sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't?
It has to be approved. We don't use any of that money. Everything that we do is out of the $200,000 that we get.
Okay.
It has to be approved by your board?
No, by the city.
Oh, the city, okay, okay.
Well,
And you can read my 11-page report that I.
You
for
did
my
a great
ask.
job, yeah, outlining that.
That's my accounting background.
Yeah.
so
I'm going to hang in here.
as far as the 200 and then the 50,000 economic development events line item, I had discussed with the mayor and Daniel prior to coming in here, of going ahead and putting the 50,000 in, with the 200, so it'd be 250. Of course, still looking for, help with certain events. And then if we don't do those events, then it's not a reimbursement, the 250,000 there. If there are events that exceed the 50,000, then there would be an opportunity for reimbursement for some of those funds. That was just kind of what I threw out there. But that increases, that goes ahead and provides the 50,000. And then if there are events that we need, that, you know, we look to for that. And if not, then that's part of the allocation. That was just one suggestion. But there was also an additional request for increase. So what are thoughts as far as that, and and then where we find that money?
So is it just that impossible to find another $100,000 to give to the chamber, considering how important they are to this community? I think with what they do and how important they are to the community, I think they should be getting the same, or if not more, than some of the other community initiatives in here that may be receiving more. So
From my perspective, I'm here to make sure the budget's balanced. So the $50,000 change is really easy. That don't have a problem with that. The 100,000 additional, if you gave it to the chamber, then the budget's out of balance by 100,000. So that's where I need y'all to figure out where you want to pull it or how you want to do it.
I think we definitely need to look into that. It's been now going on 7 years since you guys have had any kind of increase. And, you know, I feel like we are trying to form and recreate the partnerships and the collaboration between different entities within Autauga County, and I think this is an extremely important part of that puzzle. And there's no one here can speak ill of what you guys do and the effort that you put in with, you know, very little employees, very few employees, and a minimal budget. And so I am all for us, you know, asking Daniel to look and see what can we find, because really the 50 is not an increase. That just gets them status quo, but it's arranged in a different way. If we are able to find that extra 100,000 that they have requested, and it being the first request in 7 years, I think that we should work on that.
And I guess I look at it too. I think here where you're talking about like the library, they asked for a $60,000 increase last year. They're up to what, 410 from us. Nothing against the library, you know, and I love books, but I would think that what the Chamber of Commerce possibly does has more of an impact on the community than maybe the library. I know we found the $60,000 last year for them. I mean.
And that's where this is y'all's 7 opinions on the importance, and y'all need to figure out what you want to fund and what's important. That's where the East Wing's trying to get out of that conversation.
And that probably would have been a great thing for us to know prior to, you know, getting up here tonight. But yes, I agree. And I will say, kind of moving forward just a little bit, I spent 2.5 hours with Ray Bowles and Rachel and Tammy. Is it Tammy? Yeah. This morning, and from 7:30 to 10. And we talked about the library and the $300,000 that is kind of floating around, that is a big mystery to everybody at this point. And so there is a very concrete plan that we are trying to work on so that we can, and Andrew, it does involve you, they are trying to pull up information as to, because my understanding, based on the conversations with them, was that this was a donation of money that was given back in 2020.
I don't mean to cut you off. Can we get to that when we do library?
Yes, I didn't have a connecting point,
Okay, I'm
but no,
sorry.
I forgot my connecting point at this point, now that you stopped me, but
Well, I
yes,
just
we're
hated
good.
for them to
No, we're good,
continue.
yes.
Because we're talking about chamber,
Yeah.
so.
All in all, what I'm saying is, yes, I would like to see us, Mr. Whaley, find that money and move forward with that.
Good. Thank you, appreciate
All
it.
right. So it may take some additional discussions from us as the council to determine.
Well, I do want to thank Patty and Mr. Little for coming up and everything, but I also would like to thank them for having the partnership with the dinner in the district, and that'd be one way for this whole body to attend it in November, right over here across the street, so, but, thank you.
What? Yeah, we kind of gonna keep at the lyric this next year.
Just a little partnership.
Yes, thank you.
And that, one last thing, I know you keep saying Otaga County, but 85% of my district's in Elmore County, and we do ribbon cuttings there as well.
We
I
do.
like to refer to it as the City of Prattville, okay? Prattville Area Chamber of Commerce.
That's true.
85% of my district is in Elmore County, and pretty close.
I mentioned earlier, attended a ribbon cutting today.
At the Hampton Inn,
It was in Prattville,
Yes.
yes,
Elmore County.
in
Yes,
Elmore County.
absolutely.
So
So we
what
are
are we,
everywhere.
where are we at with this? I'm just not sure. Are we pushing, funding the whole thing or less?
It's gonna require some additional
Okay.
discussion, but I mean, we're only into, what, 4 lines right now?
Could we maybe, as you go through, y'all will all have, we'll just have a list of the ones that you kind of like, the funding or the less, and we'll see what the end is, and then y'all will know what you got to go,
Okay,
what other work needs to be done.
and you can figure that up and tell us?
Well, we're plus, yeah,
No, I mean, at the end.
Yes.
Yes.
135, I think that was the number.
not all this is concrete, I'm just keeping up.
No, you're
So
right.
minus 10 for the.
Okay, thank you,
All right,
guys.
I'm caught up,
Thank you. Thank you.
I think.
So, all right, now, that's why I was trying to go down the list until we, who's got one next they want to talk about?
Can we broach the library since it's on the
Sure.
City County Services, and then
Sure.
we'll be done with that page?
Library. Let's go ahead and talk about the library. Yeah,
I didn't know if you were, I'm sorry, I was talking to Strichick. So anyway, they've got this $200,000 to $300,000. Apparently, according to the chairman, it was given around 2020 to go towards a building fund. So now this is just what was discussed today. And so moving, obviously, in 27 years, it hasn't been touched. And it seemed to them that through the years, no one has touched it because people didn't really know what to do with it and if they could do something with it. So they are working on locating either the minutes from that time frame or some type of agreement that came along with this donation. And then I shared with them that we could contact you, Andrew, and you could do some research and see, can this money be used at this point? What is it being saved for after 27 years? And so that may be money that is able to be used for the library this year that would help to offset maybe some of what's budgeted.
As was explained to me, I know, Jackie, you asked some questions a couple weeks ago, and I reached out to Mr. Bowles, and I think you had 3 questions. One was about the contract. Well, I believe that has been signed. Am I right on that?
By
It,
Ray
it
Bo-
has been
Brian.
signed by the library. It is on our next council agenda to be
Right.
approved, to be signed by the mayor.
All right, so moving right along. I believe you also asked about why there was no purchase of books for around 6 months or so. The explanation I received was there wasn't a director, and that time it was between the transition of the gentleman they let go and to where they are now. And the $240,000 I was told was earmarked for construction, and it had to be earmarked only for construction unless changed by the city council. So those are the answers that I was given. So hopefully that helps, a little levity on some of this, so. We're gonna roll right into possibly what we're gonna do with the building, or are we just gonna, what do y'all wanna do?
That's in, yeah.
I'm ready.
Either way.
Huh? Yeah, all right. Let's talk about our regularly budgeted amount first, before we, because that topic we may not get back to the rest of our community initiatives.
Well, some of their increases last year was for raises, and I think that's tied to documentation provided to you.
Yes, so it was a 60,000 for some raises for employees, so I would say that's more of a fixed cost than a variable cost, but, and I did ask for some documentation to support that it was actually 60,000, and that it's just for the city, like our branches employees, not the other locations in Billingsley or Marbury, et cetera. And I think the total was like 90,000, and we covered 2/3 of it, so. And the county covered part of it too, with an increase in their side.
So I guess my question is, if we, and I think I got this right, but I'm not on the library board or up on the policies. Is state funding they receive tied to local funding they receive?
Yes.
They said today that, and I was not aware of this, that if their funding is decreased by the city council, then their state funding is contingent upon whatever that decrease is. Like, it will decrease as well.
Okay. So there's a possibility they could utilize those funds for other programs, but not necessarily a reduction in the allocation from the city.
Yeah, we talked about some different ideas, and I've made some phone calls today, and yeah, we've got somebody looking at some things that maybe we can utilize that money for in order to help solve some of their problems of overcrowding right now with their programs.
Okay. So there's no consensus of the council to reduce the amount of funding that's requested here for the library?
I mean, I don't know, y'all. I'm certainly a proponent of the library, but this money that just has been sitting there for apparently 27 years, if we can come up with a way for them to utilize that to solve some of their problems with, you know, whenever I left, Ray was like, a new building, that'll solve our problems. And I'm like, I know, I get that, you know, 100%. But if we can use that money as an interim until we're able to get some things figured out with other big ticket items that we've obviously got going on, I would love to see that happen.
Okay. But as far as the budgeted amount, we're good. I mean, there will be a requirement for a contract after this next, it's already been signed by the library. After this next council meeting, that we will authorize the mayor to enter into that contract. It'll be signed, and then pretty much from that point forward, I don't see why that there wouldn't be one signed for this coming year as well. That contract is already, it'll be in place.
Yeah.
And I think there's some stipulations in there on how the funds are used, and so that's gonna be.
And they seemed, you know, today they were, extremely amicable and excited about the potential of unveiling, possibly legally, Andrew, what can be done with this money instead of it sitting there for this long. So I do think that, yeah, we can work together and figure something out that's agreeable to both parties.
Okay.
Mr. Steve Burton might be a good point of contact for some of that, because he was a long-standing library board member. I know him and I had a few meetings over the years, and he let me know about some of that monies, but, so he might be a good historian there.
Okay. All right, so the library is the same. Daniel? All right, so back on page 84, are there any that where potential increases were asked for that the council would like to discuss and look at? That's gonna get us closer to where we need to be as far as knowing how far we are over. So we talked about the chamber, we have that written down. They did not submit reporting, right? The rescue squad did not, from the last thing that I saw.
Let me see. Just gonna skim the list to see if I see them in here. No, they did not.
Okay. I thought from looking at the information that we got, there had not been a report or request, I don't think.
And Mr. Chair, if I might, on Liberty Learning, they actually requested 5,000, and I just had 1,000 put in there. But Liberty Learning is a very unique learning platform that they go around to the various schools. I think most of them are like 3rd grade, 5th grade, somewhere in that area, and they might even go up to higher levels. But it really teaches a lot about civic duties and some of the soft skills that are sometimes so much missing. But they did request 5,000 on that. And then the other one was the warming center, and we're basically in some negotiations with one of the churches in the northern part of eastern, your area of Prattville.
John.
Is that John? Okay. But anyway, that's basically a request from our police and fire department, so.
Right.
That way.
And
during
so
that time.
they're still working that out?
Right.
So that amount that we have budgeted there would cover that. If everything is worked out, there's a contract in place, then they would open a warming center every time temperatures
Right.
drop below. And the police and fire chief are working out the details on that.
Yes, and this dollar amount is really a guesstimate, like, I guess, over here with some of the other new projects. We don't really know if that's a really good number or extremely low number. And I know recently we've gone through a lot of heat waves, and I think that once we get this ironed out, that who knows, maybe it rolls in from a warming center to also a cooling center as well.
All right. Any other community initiatives that? Yes,
I just have a question. The characters, the character
Coalition.
council, is that a part of the chamber?
It is.
It's
It's run through there.
It's run through.
Run
there.
through the chamber?
Yes.
So that are y'all, is there a part of you, like they receive money from you guys?
No.
We actually manage the programs for them, so that they have a separate board, but they don't have a director. So we manage all of the character programs, and they do pay us on management.
Okay.
And help me out on our beginning of our agenda items. The Character Coalition is actually something that's generated from this group right here. David Lewis was.
It's on our water bill
is-
too, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Okay. David Lewis is oh, you're here, okay. You're still the chair, or you? I'm the treasurer. The treasurer, okay. Anyway.
just quit recording that and turn it back, so. All right, any other community initiatives that, that we want to discuss?
Are the feral cats taken care of in your district, Whaley?
That's citywide, so we have actually extended that, and put more money in there as a community initiative for, is it USDA?
Well, he has it listed under something, but is USDA and
Yeah, I was
feral
gonna say,
cats.
so this
and-
is a issue that happens on the west side of town because we have a beaver issue.
Yeah, and we have
to deal with.
fox
And you
issues
have
on the east side.
Feral cats on the other side of town.
Feral cats and foxes.
So we're looking to put a contract together to fund, to take care of all those issues, so.
We've, 50?
20.
20.
It was
20,000? Okay, what's
5.
5,000?
Yeah.
Sorry, so,
Yeah, and working with Alabama Animal Alliance as far as cats. And I'm hoping with some potential increase in funding for the humane shelter, they can take in some of those additional stray cats and find them a home other than in the streets.
and what's your address again?
It doesn't matter. You can go anywhere in my neighborhood and find all the cats you want. They're everywhere. All right, any other,
I have one more question I don't
Okay.
understand. The Board of Education, can you, like, that money's,
That's done off of a contract or resolution on that particular one, and it still goes on through
I think that one's through September
September.
30th.
September
something along
30th?
that line.
Yeah, so we're going to have to revisit that as a council anyway.
So that
Okay,
money is
back as
still,
well.
it's just unallocated. So the 1 cent education bucket has, we'll say, $2 million round off. Historically, at least over the last 5 years, you've had Central Alabama Community College come out, you've had school resource officers come out, and you've had Board of Education come out, and now the Pratt coming out. Well, this year, it's just the Pratt and SROs, but the rest of that money is still there. It's not been allocated, it's not been assigned, it's awaiting either new contract, depending on how you guys go. So, we have decisions to make for the community college and for the BOE and for, long-term other school options. So all that needs to be figured out kind of collectively. But the money's still there, it's just not been allocated.
okay, thank you.
And it will, last time, I guess initially it wasn't in the budget, it was allocated by the council and then it was placed. Like if we go back and allocate that 1 cent money, then it's going to be shown.
Yes, sir, we would amend the budget as part of you passing a new contract or
Right,
whatever.
right. All right, any additional questions on community initiatives? All right, so we know what we're over and we know what we need to discuss.
We're 105 in the hole. Assuming we take one Community Outreach United out.
And put it, and the monument, if we move those into, because they're in the current budget that was not expended.
Okay, so I'll add, I did not have the monument. So 95.
Okay.
Liberty, yeah.
Liberty Learning, are
They,
they working here in the school, with the schools?
yes, I've seen them many times up at Daniel Pratt. I don't know about the elementary school. I think I've seen them there, but I know definitely Daniel Pratt. But it's a good little program. They bring some of the classes in normally to the lunchroom. A lady is dressed up like Statue of Liberty, and they teach them through different techniques, and a lot of it's about the Constitution and civic duties and so forth. I'll be glad to get you some of that, to get the whole council some of that information.
Okay.
Now, if y'all want to increase them as well, but they'll be appreciative of anything.
All right. I think, so we know 95. I don't know that we'll figure that out tonight, but hopefully before we're ready to see the budget, we can determine that. All right, so that gets us through our community initiatives. Next topic of discussion, Mr. Mayor, is swimming pool.
Okay. Might have some friends to come up for that. And while Kelly's coming up, I'm going to step to the back and talk to Mr. Lewis real quick. We have some of our YMCA friends here as well. So how do we get this started?
All right, so on their agenda, we had discussion regarding the future of a city swimming pool, including current needs and challenges associated with reopening the facility. Updated discussion, legal status with any previous grants or funding. Estimated financial and operational requirements, potential partnerships with private entities, opportunities for shared responsibility, investment management, or operations that could make reopening the pool feasible.
Well, if I can just start off a little bit, is that, as we all know, the swimming pool is closed at this time. Fortunately, we had a partnership with the YMCA team over here, and we've had a partnership for some time, partnering with the swim team and so forth. But the Pratt Pool was built in basically the mid-'70s through a LWCF grant, and there are some strings attached to that if it ever can no longer be a swimming pool, it has to be approved to shut it down or relocate it or whatever it might happen to be. So that is basically the reason for us talking tonight, is because we need guidance, because the pool does serve so many useful purposes, and I know our senior aerobics is very, very important to our seniors. Normally, it's been about almost 100 participants in it. I know partnering with the YMCA this year, we're able to continue that program slightly during this summer season. A couple of dozen, 25 participants there, and actually, which so many of these programs are based off of the needs that we have with our lifeguards. And when we don't have any lifeguards, we have to shut down the swimming pool. Fortunately, with the splash pad, we do not. But again, we're at basically a crossroads or a stopping point of, we need to know, do we need to plan for the future with a partnership with the YMCA, or do we plan to spend monies to determine more what critical needs are with our swimming pool? Can they even be fixed? I feel like that's actually already been answered, but there might need to be some more core drilling and so forth done. Are we ready to spend more money?
Is David around, somewhere in there?
Which one?
There he is.
David
I
Lewis?
couldn't see him.
David Kramer?
He and I had a discussion the other night. Would you mind coming up and sharing a little bit about the discussion we had and some ideas you have? I think there's been maybe a conversation or two with some folks in the Parks and Rec, but just so everybody understands what your thoughts are. I thought it was a pretty good idea.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to talk, and certainly appreciate the long-standing partnership that we've had with the Parks and Recreation Department, partnering on our summer swim team program. And when we became aware of the condition of the pool back, I guess February is when that happened, we started working to see what we could do to backfill the gaps as best we could. And, of course, we have a pretty full capacity as it is right now, with our traditional programming that we've done. And we were able to backfill to accommodate the swim team program. And then, as Kelly indicated, we were able to help with a slight opportunity for water aerobics. And I wish we could have done more, but our pool is a 4-lane pool. And the Pratt Park pool is massive and perfectly designed for water aerobics for a large crowd because of the depth of it. All that said, we began working on conversations, and it's really interesting because the timeliness of this conversation, by coincidence, coincides with a strategic study that we are working on with the YMCA of all of our facilities. And our strategic plan, which we began working on in, I guess, in 2024, kind of had led us to that process. And as y'all, I think, are aware, the Don M. Smith branch was built in 1966, and we're still operating out of the original pool that was constructed when that building was opened. And that's the 4-lane pool, which is now enclosed. And we're facing some major decision points with the Y about future investments that we will need to make and changes that we'll need to make. Obviously, Prattville has grown tremendously over that 64-year period, and the needs of the community have grown, and the opportunities that we have grown. I have made a concerted effort, and our staff has, to try to do everything we can to position ourselves to be able to take advantage of partnership opportunities where we can. And we felt like this was really a good opportunity for us to approach the city about the potential of partnering together to produce a high-level aquatics facility that would be a credit to our community, would meet the needs that they're currently being met with the city programming and with the Y programming, and position us to be able to do even more. We have a very robust competitive swimming program year-round, and because of the partnership that we have, we've been able to really, I think, have some stability in that program. We have a number of young people that have been able to earn college scholarships in athletics. Because of that, each year we have a couple that are able to do that. But more than that, we have a lot of young people that participate in that program each year. Additionally, there's all sorts of other activities that we do. Traditionally, the city had hosted, I think, 4 swim meets during the summer. We weren't able to accommodate all of those this summer, but we were able to accommodate 3. And those are obviously economic generators for the city. And if we have a larger facility that we can, host people in, we can do more with that. And I think there are all the conversations ongoing about sports tourism and about the economic engine that it is. If you look across the interstate at our neighbors, they have done a really good job of presenting or putting together a really nice facility, but it doesn't have an aquatic solution that is a part of that right now, and it's not on the table according to any publicly released plans that I've seen. And I think we have a real opportunity here to do something that would complement that investment that they made and position us to be a regional hub for things that we're not doing currently, plus meet the needs that we have. I think our city deserves an opportunity to have a tremendous facility like that here. And I certainly think that between the YMCA and the Parks and Recreation staff and the competent staffs that we have, that there's enough people here locally that can help design and manage that, and it can be a real credit to our community. So all that to be said, we would desire the opportunity to have a conversation, an additional conversation, or multiple additional conversations moving forward about how we can go about doing that. this is not something that any one of us can solve on our own and do so in a fashion that would meet that level, in my opinion. We're going to have to attract outside investment, from federal dollars to state dollars to leveraging, a capital campaign on behalf of the Y, all of those things in addition to funds from the city. I think our ability to leverage outside investment and even other partners to come to the table is better. We have better chances of that if we have a partnership, and so I think it makes sense. I don't have all the answers. We're still working with our consultants. I know Robert Stritchett, as the chair of Parks and Recreation Committee, the mayor and Kelly and David have had an opportunity to have conversation with them. Kelly and David actually had a chance to personally meet him, and so the group that we're working with has helped YMCA's across the country partner with municipalities, and I think they're north of 100. The number of projects that they've been able to do. I shared some information with the mayor, with Councilman Stritchett, and with Council President Whaley about some of the work they've done and some of the opportunities that exist. And other communities have been able to figure this out and to make that step and to make something really nice for their community. And I think there's no reason Prattville can't do that. We've got a lot of really good people right here in this room, and I think we can come together and figure something out that'll benefit generations to come and really make something nice for our community. Thank you. I didn't mean to talk
No,
too
you're
long.
fine. Is there any questions?
I just want to say thank you for helping us out this year and partnering with us, as you always do. And as we try to figure out what we need to do or what we can do about the pool, I definitely think this should definitely have some more dialogue and keep the option open. So I appreciate you coming up and sharing.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to offer any help I can, and I appreciate the opportunity. And let me just say that this had minimal amount to do with me personally. Our staff are the ones. David Creamer is the one that makes the aquatics machine run, and we've got a lot of really good people that do a great job and really maximize the opportunities that we have with the resources that we have. So.
Y'all do a great job, David. And I know we talked about some options as well, and one of them was even wild where we talked about the combo pool, we'll call it aquatic center, and a library. I mean, there's things going on in municipalities all over the place. Thea and myself, our daughters grew up swimming together for Coach Joe, so we've done the year-round swimming, so we know the painstaking long day of swim meet. But anyway, financially, there's a lot on our plate right now. Education's the big topic, as everyone knows. I know that we probably looked at 3 options that we may discuss tonight, and realistically, there's probably only 2. The first one is repairing what we have, and to me, that's just a waste of money and time. But I believe Kelly had some ideas and some options that I'll just kind of segue into her and let her explain her situation. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, we'll hear other options tonight, but I do want to keep it open. You and I have talked about the possibility of this for probably 2 years now. And I said last year at the budget work session that I didn't think we need to be in the swimming pool business, but in February we weren't. So we got some pretty important decisions to make. So I do want to keep the lines of communication open moving forward in making a determination of what we're going to do, because there are abilities for communities to have public-private partnerships that can bring facilities that provide tremendous economic impact to the community. So,
and this is not a short-term solution by any
Right.
stretch. What I'm proposing, this will take us multiple years to put together. So I don't want to be, I don't want to be disingenuous. This is be a process. But I thank y'all for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, if I can, just one more moment, just real quick. And I believe council, y'all did receive an email that was forwarded to y'all. David Lewis had sent it to us, so you have that additional information. But just a quick rundown, because as I mentioned earlier, when the pool was built, but in January of '01 is when a leak detection was, company was hired. So we had several other events that went on, and for '01, '05, '06, '07, so it just keeps on and on and on. In May of '23, we had Dave Structures. They examined the pool in May of 2023. So it's, it's got a long list here. There's a lot of needs, and we just need the guidance on what to do. Do we just sit back and wait, or do we perform some additional tests, core boring, or whatever it might happen to be? So again, now I'll turn the microphone over to Kelly Carter.
Sure, like the mayor said, the pool was built in 1978, so it's almost 50 years old, and the problems are not new. They've dated back to 2001, and we've been dealing with those periodically. We've been putting Band-Aids on that pool for as long as that I've been in that position. We've just now gotten to a point where even having ground penetrating radar, test well, structural examinations, we keep finding problems after we fix problems. So we do have a couple of options that we need to look at. One would be to repair and renovate the existing pool, but obviously that would take you guys allowing us to enter into a contract with an aquatic engineer or architect to look at what is there. And obviously the extent of the deterioration is not known until they get in there, and then that may lead to other problems. Personally, I'm not in favor of replacing or repairing that pool with it being almost 50 years old and knowing the problems that we have and the cost that's associated with that. We did talk about if we were just set on having something in that area, that the possibility of just completely thinking outside of the box and creating, on the existing site, creating a shallow pool system and what we call just a mega splash pad. This would be something in the area that we don't currently have that would be an inclusive splash pad for our citizens. A shallow aquatic pool would allow us to continue swim lessons and water aerobics with the potential zero entry component that we would have. Our splash pad would be converted in the deep end area with multiple water features for different ages and inclusiveness. Completely renovating the bathhouse that's there, updating the restrooms, and addressing some ADA accessibility issues, and converting to a saltwater system. Obviously, this option comes with challenges too, and we would still have to enter into an agreement with an aquatic engineer and architect to develop a plan to see if that's even a possibility. But that would be doing something in that area, because even if we go in the direction with the YMCA, we're going to have to decide what happens in this area. And like the mayor talked about, we do still have to address the ADM component of permission of what we can do. So we were just kind of tasked with coming up with a couple of different options. So truly, in our opinion, option one would be if we went to a small pool that was just for water aerobics and swim lessons and community pool swimming, versus a partnership with the YMCA to come up with a state-of-the-art aquatic center. Now, obviously, with option two, we would not be in the swim team business anymore. The year-round component would have to be discussed with the YMCA. But like they've said, they've got challenges too. I know that they're planning to move forward with a new aquatic center, but like David said, it's going to be several years down the road, but that doesn't address our needs either, and this would be several years down the road. So really, we're in a kind of limbo area, a no-win situation for the water world. And we really just need some direction on what you guys would like to see, more research, or what you guys would feel comfortable with us entering into a contract. If we go into the option with the YMCA, obviously we're going to need to look at doing some sort of economic impact or a feasibility study just to see what that partnership looks like. So there are a lot of different moving parts to it. We really just need guidance from you guys, what direction you'd like to see more, because summer will be here very soon, and we won't have another option for our community, unfortunately.
All right, just a quick question, Kelly. This looks great. and correct me if I'm wrong, with the issues that we've had out in that spot, would that not come to play? We don't know.
We wouldn't
We
know
wouldn't know,
until we got,
right?
until we had
Till we got
somebody out.
started.
And again, it's the same thing, we might turn up other issues that we didn't even know were existing when they start digging around. There's so many unknowns. I mean, they've put test wells in looking for leaks and waters, and there's no standing water. So where's the water going? We're losing 40,000 gallons a day. It's going somewhere, like,
Yeah.
until somebody truly gets in there and starts digging around and digging up, we don't know.
Okay.
40,000.
Yeah. So just my personal opinion, having personally dove on the areas that were leaking and felt it suck your hand to it and have to forcefully remove it, putting gallons and gallons and gallons of dye in the water, hoping that at the crack, at the leak, hoping that we could somehow find where that was coming from, and never finding it. You know, my personal feelings, I told the mayor this in 2014, I wouldn't put another penny into that pool, but we've done it since then. But every time we fix it, we have additional problems. So my personal suggestion is that we get with ADEM and see what we have to do to go through the closing the pool facility as that. And then we go through the demolition process of taking that. We're gonna have to take it out anyway if we were to go with something like this to build. And that may unearth some of the issues, and we may see some of those issues. If we go through the pool demolition process, it may uncover where the issues are, so. And I know Mr. Day has done I was going to see if maybe we could refer, or we could get some free advice.
Well, I would like to say that we have reached out to ADECA, and we're still waiting. I think we've sent 2 letters to them, and so we're still in limbo with them. But I do believe that we would have the options of and this is where I'm going to need some advice from Mr. Day, who's in the audience, core boring, just to see if there's something that can be brought to light that might say this is a feasible option, or no, it's not in this location. So that's, again, we just need some guidance on what direction to go in, and we have some monies available, I believe, in the budget, but not a lot of monies in the budget, so it might need some budget amendments.
David, if you don't mind me asking, so with this possibility of the aquatics, and I know it's early, and I know it's just in discussion, do you have somewhat of an idea where we'd be looking at putting this? Like maybe back, I'm not sure how far the property line is at the Y, like beyond the track and, of course, yeah, would it be behind the track?
Yeah, in that area.
Okay.
Yes, we own 65 acres unencumbered at the Don Smith facility. Stretches from East Main Street all the way back to Patrick Street in the back of the elementary school. I say it's unencumbered. There is an easement that the city has through the property that not all of that property is usable, and it's kind of divided into 2 pieces. The front part, we currently utilize about 13 acres roughly. But as Robert said, what we have preliminarily looked at, and this is not from architectural renderings or anything as even as advanced as this, but looked at repositioning a facility back on the back part of our property as it exists now, where the walking track and whatnot is. And then one of the things that will have to be addressed no matter what we do is parking. Parking is woefully inadequate at that facility as it stands right now, and so that's something that's going to have to be reimagined and whatnot. But we do have a tremendous amount of property right there, and it's high. I think the condition of that property is a lot different than what possibly may be down here with the water table and whatnot. We've not had any of the same issues with our pool. We have 2 pools at that location and haven't experienced any of the same issues. And they're both constructed very similarly, I think, to what the Pratt Park pool, they're in that same era of construction, so. But yes.
Well, I had an
Does that
idea,
answer your
though.
question?
Yeah, it does. And kind of reliving my youth when you were talking about swimming in the pool. I remember being in, gosh almighty, day camp. We used to have war games in that back, beyond the track and everything. And, yeah, the glory days. Thank you, Dave.
So I
There was
guess
no
as-
YMCA when you were in school.
As far as direction,
So
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I agree with you. I mean, this pool has been, for the lack of a better word, sinking, I guess, like the library next to it. So I would say, you know, if it was just a one-off with the pool, you could look at it one way, but with the library next to it sinking as well, I mean, I probably would abandon all hope in putting something there. I'd like to see what this grant money, if we can get it back, or what we need to do. That'd be the first thing. I'd say abandon the location, no matter what we do. I don't think putting more money into building a pool there, unless it's a splash pad or something, or you know, I think it's a dangerous decision.
I mean, I think we could do some more testing, but I think as far as the current pool, I mean, my opinion would be to go through whatever process we have to close it and
Right.
demolish it and fill it in. I mean, we could probably do some core sampling or whatever when the pool is removed, and we can actually see what's there. I would think it would be a lot easier for somebody to do some engineering on that and do some sampling and some core boring when we go in and we remove all the concrete. I mean, all that's gotta be done anyway, if we close the pool and demolish it.
So, let me step out here on a limb a little bit. Is the council okay if Andrew and Dawn get together and write a letter to ADECA and says, we're demolishing this pool, and we're gonna do some core boring to look for future plans?
I'm perfectly fine with them asking about demolishing the pool. I just can't see us continuing to dump money in a hole.
And council financially support the demolition and removal?
I have to look at the facilities reserve bucket.
So, 3 questions, I guess. Do we have an estimated cost on that picture, and also what the Y has preliminarily thought about? And I know we don't have an estimate on the demolition, I don't guess, but.
The YMCA, that estimate, the preliminary was 19 million. Yeah, absolutely, please.
You know, we're playing with concepts and just conversation. I know when we approached the Parks and Recreation Committee back in 2021, I think, when y'all were having the buckets discussion with the 1 cent, we were looking at something around that dollar amount there. I think that dollar figure would probably be higher now for a total, and keep in mind, there's a portion of what we're talking about are YMCA facilities, and we're gonna have to rethink some of that. So it's not all just aquatics, so, but it's definitely north of that, but I do not have anything firm, and we really can't get to that point, you know, unless we have a discussion that, hey, this is where we want to go. And that's what the email that I sent to you, President Whaley, was, hey, what I'm looking for is an agreement that we move forward together. We agreed to explore a partnership, and we move forward together in good faith, and we have these conversations together about how we pool our resources. And if you're going to expend $1 and we're going to expend $1, let's make the most of that $2 investment and get everything we can, instead of y'all, both of us doing some of the same things. So that's where I'm going from, but I don't have a dollar amount that I can even, you know, that I can even tell you right at this point.
Okay.
But at the time, that was an educated guess based on what we were just talking about relative to that spot. But I don't even know that that's a good number, so.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's the best I can give you. So.
And I don't, It
Same
doesn't
with
matter,
us.
whatever your number is for this or your number is for that, it ain't in the budget this year, so. I
Well,
mean,
and we
but-
don't have a number either, because
Right.
we would have to have a conceptual plan laid out that would establish what a cost would be for a design idea.
Right.
That's a concept, that's just an idea that we've
But-
said, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
But-
and plus
we
all
gotta
the,
get-
all the
No.
cost associated with the land part of it that you don't know about.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
top of all
so
that.
we gotta get the pool closed and gone and the structural stuff done so that we can even say, yes, you could do this on here.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, so where are we on that bucket, Daniel?
I was gonna ask
So-
real quick too, do we know what the cost is if we got out of that grant, what we'd have to pay back or anything?
Well, that's what we gotta find out from the letter.
Yeah, the grant wasn't, in 1978, the grant was minuscule. Because back then,
just-
it doesn't cost, yeah, 50-ish.
Like the mayor mentioned, a DECA conversation, so perhaps there'd be a little there.
And I did say ADECA, which is
It's
also
ADM.
LWCF, Land Water Conservation
Yeah.
Funding, federal.
Yeah, I think we need to have those conversations and then, determine what's necessary to close it and then get prices for demolition, and then we can determine whether or not we can afford that or not. I mean, I don't think they're gonna want it sitting there with no water in it. Of course, we need to do something, is what I'm saying is, we need to take care of the problem.
Right.
But we can't make a decision without knowing what it's gonna cost.
So I think I've got money for a demo. I don't know how much it costs, but we're also running into crossover plans for education-related conversations. So I've got $3.5 million that's unassigned in the public facilities bucket. But the plan is, we're gonna need some cash for education potentially.
Correct.
So that's all part of the conversation. All the balls are in the air.
Yeah.
But there's adequate money if that's something you guys want to do. There's $3.5 million that's unassigned.
But we can't just leave it down there open.
Right. So
I
first
mean, because
step
we don't
is,
want code enforcement getting us for stagnant water.
well, that we don't have to worry
It
about,
drains
because it
itself.
won't hold
It
any.
leaks out, it's fine.
Okay,
That's District 7.
game plan is we get a letter written to
Yes.
ADECA, LWCF, whoever it might happen to be.
Yes.
Saying we want to move forward, and we go ahead and get a guesstimate on demoing all of this, and I guess go ahead and fill it back in.
And I think
Two
we,
estimates there together.
yeah, we may want to get with a structural engineer to see about doing some of the sampling that we want to, while it's open. It may be a good time for them.
Correct, but we gotta make certain we don't get our hands slapped from our federal partners.
Yes.
On this, but we will come back then with, a copy of the letter and also a guesstimate. And, if nothing else, our citizens know that we are working on this, we are
Yes.
taking it serious, because this is a really big amenity for our seniors and our young at heart as well.
Well, I'd add to this too. I mean, I think I agree. We'd want to try to find out what the problem is, because even if you put more dirt in there and fill it up, who's to say that's just going to keep,
Right.
you're going to have to keep filling it up.
Well, been many years now, but when I was talking at one time with Superintendent Tidmore and over with the kindergarten, or 338 First Street, the thought was build a pool in the back of behind that structure. But again, testing has to be done, because we are the Fountain City.
Yep.
So.
All right. Any other discussion on?
I have a question. How
Okay.
much did it cost us to partner with the Y this summer in terms of, I know that I'm sure we've helped to pay for chemicals and, that kind of thing. What did we end up paying them?
Well, right now,
So we paid for Coach Joe, who is
I know.
he's in our budget for the swim coach. So we paid for the swim coach, and they kept 100% of the fees, where we usually would have split the fees 50-50 for
The
swim
program
team.
fees.
The swim team registration, they kept 100% of that to help offset the extra lifeguards that they would have to have, and the chemicals and the use of their pool.
And I do have a list of where it was approximately 7,700, I think, of some additional costs that we're going to be discussing as well.
And we were able to, you guys were able to accompany 25, is that what you said? About 25 swimmers? I mean, aerobics
Aerobics.
participant?
Water aerobics.
Yeah.
We made an allocation for 2 classes of 25, and because of the with the city-provided instructor, excuse me, I got tongue twisted, and it was decided that the instructor could only be available for 1 class, and so we made that class available to the city for those 25 spots.
Gotcha.
And provided the lifeguards there for them as well.
Thank you guys for doing that.
Most certainly.
And
Yeah.
we stand ready to do what we need to do to try to help fill this gap going forward. In the next summer, we got even more time to work on it now. And so
Good.
we're gonna be working towards that, because obviously, there's not gonna be a solution in place either way.
For a while. We appreciate that.
All right, library.
Okay. I have been in some communications with the library chairperson as well, and do we have a picture? Okay. Talking with them, because there can potentially be some different options, as mentioned a little bit earlier, in one other portion of the country. There was a YMCA partnership along with a community that also had a library. But again, this, I like the concept on one hand, but some of our needs really need to be, I think, fulfilled sooner than later. And the library is one, as we all know, that the library had to be stabilized. And what would that be? That would be the southwestern corner. It is stabilized, but it is not level. This is also another problem that's been going on almost from day one, because one of the things that I think we all have found out is that how the structure was supposed to have been built was not actually how it was built. And then you're on the creek bank and being in the Fountain City. But they are in a need of some additional space. The area that is unleveled is being utilized as storage, which is actually saving them some monies and not having to rent a storage unit. But anyway, we need some directions on it, and they have come up, and this is one of the architects' artist renderings on it, but it's almost $5 million for this as well, which is, this area is in front of our existing library building. Now, of course, the library board, I'm not going to speak for them, but I think it's easy to say that they would prefer a new building. Have this one put down to the ground. And so I started my one little tale down memory lane just a moment ago, talking with Tidmore at one point in time. I'd even talked about having the library moved into the old kindergarten, or 338 First Street on it. So this is, again, one of these that we need some guidance from this body. Do we just say, this is status quo, we're not going to spend any more money on it? We need to look toward this partnership with the YMCA. We need to look for whatever the next step is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, lucky that thing hadn't slid off into the creek and killed somebody by now. That thing is sinking. My worry is like kind of with the pool and our artesian wells. Another option that was brought to my attention recently goes back to Mr. Tidmore and some conversations with Lyman Woodfin. He threw a ballpark number out. We're all around $4 or $5 million for everything to take the old kindergarten. Parks and Rec gets the gym, and we use whatever we can with the old kindergarten, which is huge, to repurpose a library there, put the library in the kindergarten. And he said a lot of work's been done in that building, plumbing, electrical and all, man, as we all know, it's a very old building, so it's in fairly decent shape compared to the library now. So that's just another option. We told Autauga County High School, we keep the integrity of the history of that building, make it a public library, and then Parks and Rec gets the gymnasium, so just
Well, in
another thought.
a case like that, with that type of scenario, because I've been putting a lot of thought in this for many years, and I think we need to get a professional in just to see even if you can put books in a structure like this one, because books are very, very heavy, even though books are probably not as primary as they used to be, but there's still a lot of books in a library.
It had a library in it, in the school.
Right.
I mean, when Ray and I were in ninth grade, had a library,
I
kindergarten
would-
library. Also, there used to be an auditorium in the middle of it, and they turned into classrooms. So, we need a cultural arts facility. I mean, you could always repurpose
yeah.
and set that auditorium back up as it was originally. There's a lot of things that you can do with that building.
No doubt. Some of them, if you're looking straight at the building and you go to the right and the first flat roof that's over there, my thoughts have always been if you blew that roof off and our Scott House over here, not Scott House, I'm sorry, Westbrook Church where way off Broadway is, you could move them in there if you would have raised the roof. But again,
Yeah, it's all money.
that's a lot easier. It's still expensive, but to
Right.
me, that'd be a lot easier project than possibly the library, because
Right. And
I
if-
just have concerns of the weight of the
Yeah.
books.
Well, not only the structural, that's changing the occupancy. So I would definitely get an opinion, because I am pretty sure that building would have to be sprinkled, because now you're putting an assembly occupancy in there. I realize it was a school and it had one, but codes have changed. So when you change that occupancy from
Yep.
institution or school to an assembly occupancy, there's gonna be a whole lot of additional requirements by code that could cost several $1 million.
When was the last time, I'm sorry.
Oh,
wait.
go ahead, go ahead.
When was, this is quick, when was the last time, was there a class there? It's been a handful of years, right?
Well, they're actually having,
they
I
still-
guess,
Yeah,
to
they're still
some
using it, but
degree,
they had,
But-
well, the new kindergarten
Second
was like
chance.
3 years ago, so,
But very, very,
in 3 years.
yeah.
but
But
they
also
have
that,
some now.
all that playground in the back can be, could be some really good parking, great parking for
Or
downtown.
a swimming pool,
What about?
Pool, football, library.
whatever. But again,
Whatever.
too, it's gonna take a lot of testing.
4th of July.
All that would have to be.
Yeah, but you'd have to take consideration of the floors. I mean.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I was going
there's
to, that's what I was
Go
going to
ahead,
say
Wade.
too. I love the idea. I think the concept, especially used in the old auditorium for cultural arts, all that's a great idea. But the concerns I have around it are bringing it up to code also with the books, an HVAC system probably to keep, I mean, you're not going to be able to store the books in there in the same way. That's going to probably require some more air conditioning or whatever, to keep it, the books from, drying out or whatever. There's some requirements around that. That's why when they had problems, they couldn't move to just any place and put the books in it, because it had to have certain HVAC considerations around it. But I love the concept. I am not for building any pools down in that area down there, though, I'm telling you. I wouldn't dig a hole down there unless you just want water to come up.
So I'm taking it, the consensus is, well, there's no money in this current budget that's proposed for additions to the library. So are we saying that right now, we're not putting money into the current facility, we're going to explore other options?
Yeah, I would say the library, out of the big three, the library's the most stable. We've stopped it from sinking. It's got books in it. Everybody's using it. There's stuff going on in it. The pool, we don't have one, and education is our number one thing. So, I mean, I love the idea of moving into that high school and giving it a purpose again and using it for something. I love the place myself. A lot of good memories there. But I don't know if we can't afford it right now, so supporting the current structure, I think, would be the best option for right now. But exploring other options, I like planning ahead, obviously. So that's a great idea.
So, do we explore 338 as a potential project, whether it's short-term, is what Councilor Stritchett said, or if it's long-term, going down the education pathway that has been discussed, which is not a quick project. I mean, if we
No.
bring in, I don't know who to bring in on something like
Right.
this. Because so many other projects we have is, like with our cemetery, we have some walls that we're working with someone to, is going to replace that. So there's so many different things. So it's not a fast, and it probably won't be a cheap project just to have a architect, engineer, and everybody else to come in.
I think we need to explore, I think we need to continue to move forward with our education
Okay?
potential first. And then we will revisit pool and library.
Okay, so we're gonna move forward with the pool as far as the
Yes,
letter and.
yeah.
and
I'm talking about
potential
as far as
demo.
additional.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as any movement with the library, we're status quo at this time.
For now, unless anybody disagrees.
That's,
Well, to revisit, if I may, my conversation today with Ray and Tammy, we are talking about potentially being able to utilize some space that has not been available before. And so maybe we can, help alleviate, because a big part of their issue, according to Tammy, is the overcrowding of their programs. And so, there's some talking at least going on to try to help relieve that pressure just a little bit for them. I know it's not the solution that they want, but there's a lot of solutions out there that, we all want that we can't
Right.
provide, financially. So, but I think if we make this work, that'd be great.
and one reason for this conversation, the community knows we are looking at it, but if there is a reduction in some of the programs like you were talking about, then we all know the reason, because they're just out of space and do it as much as they can with what they've got.
Well, and I'd like to, I know Kelly's gone, but I don't think, I really don't think the community has a true understanding of what that pool looks like now, and what the problems are, because we've been dealing with this pool situation for 20 years at least.
I think you're on one committee, weren't you, in '06?
Could you remove that, please?
07?
It's got stagnant water in it.
I mean, it's been losing 40 gallons of water for 20 years, basically. And you see all of this on Facebook that, they've closed the pool, they won't fix the pool. Well, it's not a $50,000 fix. I mean,
No.
we've been pouring $50,000
Correct.
into it every 6 months, probably, for the past 20 years, if not more. So I think, yes, you're exactly right. My hope is that, we're not going to have to cut programs with the library. We're going to be able to both move our circles and find something that is a solution for right now. But I do think that, yes, allowing the public a little information about the pool leaks, Amanda, write that down, 40,000 gallons a day. There's a lot of problems that people don't understand. So I do think it served its purpose well over the last 50 years.
Okay,
All right, we good?
I think so.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have one-
Potential
so y'all done?
revisions to council rules?
Huh?
Potential revisions to council rules?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know we were dealing with that yet. What are you referring to? Is this my work session deal? What are we talking about?
Well, our council rules. So we held the ordinance at the previous meeting, and it will come up in the second meeting in September. So do we want to discuss any potential changes to? I know there was one change in there to add one work session, the first meeting of the month, and then there was some discussion about potentially that being different. So this is a work session.
I think we left it, my understanding was we left it at considering 2 pre-council agenda reviews, 30 to 45 minutes, I requested that we add a old business agenda item in that, and then having one work session per quarter. We cannot interfere with Bible studies on the first Monday of the month, so we would have to find something else, but we did leave with that.
So that was a potential discussion to change what was presented at the meeting. So
That was my perception, yes.
we're open for discussion.
I go back to my suggestion of once a quarter, using the word may instead of shall, and leave it at that. Amend it.
I could get behind that one.
I wasn't a fan for work sessions, as I spoke before, but I could go 1 1/4. Can I speak up now? This is your opportunity. Now you're calling through.
I don't understand, that if we met 30 minutes before our work sessions and our department heads were able to, our department heads that, not somebody that is wanting to purchase a pickup truck for their department, but something that's substantial on our agenda, let the department heads come to that, and other than that, let them go home. They don't need to be here, in my humble opinion. I guess that's Bill's call, I don't know, but,
Well, our council rules say that they have to be.
that they have to be
That's
here.
item
Okay.
number 22.
And also in closing comments, sometime there might be need for a department head to be here. So, I mean, that's out of the question.
For a closing comment?
Sometimes some of the citizens will come up and have a closing comment as to something, and a department head have to be called upon, as happened in the past. So you just never know. It's crazy.
Well, I would hope that we could do something different with that and get back to, that constituent and allow our department heads to go home. But I can't, honestly, I just can't see how we sit up here and we have this example from so many municipalities throughout not only Alabama, but all over, but we see it differently, that we don't need to. Bill, you just said that this was great to get together and talk through some of this stuff, especially regarding, the library and some potential solutions. Today, when I was meeting with some of the library board at least, just getting together and talking was great. And so I can't see where an hour a month is going to hurt any of us to be able to have exposure for the citizens as well, and to talk. Because as we all have seen, emails can go crazy and go crazy fast, and I don't get complete answers in emails. I would love to sit here and look at Chambers and talk to him about, okay, let's talk about this idea of yours of, only giving a few city council members a certain number of hours, because I disagree with that. I don't want to email you because you can't read my expressions and my emotions, and I don't want you to take that the wrong way. And when you're looking at me and we're having a discussion, I think that body language and the nonverbals read into all of that. I don't see how an hour a month can hurt us, and especially with our constituents. And I'm not for the department head staying. I'm not. I think that we can create and we can work around that. But I'm also going to say, everybody's got some good hefty increases this year. And I would say, let you guys go. But if we can't, is that going to, deeply affect them to have to stay the 30 minutes between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, or 5:15 and 5:45?
Well, I would add, that's why we should put May, because it depends on what's coming up on the agenda. I mean, what if there's not really much to talk about? We don't have to necessarily do that. So I think, you know, we already, you know, have an opportunity to allow our constituents to come forward and talk and bring forward some things. I'm assuming these work sessions and whatnot we're talking about, they're going to listen to us. They don't give us the input. So we can go back and forth, but at some point we still want their input. I would, my constituents. That's where I think it's important they do reach out. We have those conversations with our constituents. They do come forward and share with us to help us form our decisions. And yes, and then we obviously could have these if need be. I think that's definitely open for discussion, just as needed. That's all I'm thinking.
Well, and I'm not negating that none of us we're not doing our part with, you know, talking to our constituents, obviously, and they still do have the opportunity to publicly speak at the end of the meeting. I think that it's needed. I can't fathom why this is not acceptable to every single one of us on the council 1 hour a month. I can't fathom that is a big deal, 1 hour a month. And also, I can't fathom that we have a community, a population of right at 40,000 people, and a budget. What is Daniel's left us, what is our budget overall?
158.
158, a budget of $158 million a year, and we think that we're going to run out of things to talk about for 30 minutes.
And we might not have enough time either.
And and then I think we add.
And that's where you have your work session, and that way you don't have it timed out. You could just have your work session.
And I am absolutely for that, too.
So let me ask you this, Daniel. Andrew. I have been talking to Daniel all night long, so now I'm.
That inhaler?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Puffing ain't passing. So, council rules, we're not deliberating. Is that something we can discuss by email? As far as suggested changes?
Yeah, I mean, this is y'all's rules of procedure. You know, it's not an action that you're taking.
Right.
I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue with that. One thing I did want to point out that is existing in the council procedures is Section 3. And I think, you know, this is not even a section I've paid a lot of attention to, but just looking at it, according to Code of Alabama 114350,
yeah,
the mayor, of course, can call a meeting, or 2 council members can request one in writing. And of course, if you've got 24 hours notice and 2 members requesting it, then it shall be held.
Yep.
So I mean, that's something else, just another avenue a meeting needs to be held. But yeah, I mean, you know, as long as everybody's included on it and you're discussing changes to these procedures, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay. So is it?
Right.
I mean, we have 3 weeks before this comes back up. I just got an opinion that we can discuss this over email as a group because it's our actual rules and procedures and not an action. So do we want to have further email?
I just think funny. I was gonna say, I look and see both sides of this. I mean, I like getting the emails, I like getting the backup documents, I like getting information from the staff, and I look at all of that stuff, and it's good for me to be able to see. I do my own research on it. I like coming in prepared, you know, so I get that aspect of it. I also like interacting with my fellow counselors. There's things I can't talk to them about sometimes on email without deliberating, and I like being in an environment where I can talk to them. I mean, I'm getting paid to work. I don't have a problem coming in half an hour earlier, an hour earlier, and doing work or coming in again. It doesn't bother me. I come down here probably more sometimes than some of them want to see, so I don't have an issue with it. I'm up for whatever the majority of you guys want to do. If you want to meet once a month mandatorily, if you want to meet before every meeting for half an hour, it doesn't matter to me. I'm flexible. If you guys don't want to ever meet again, you know, that's, you know, other than the 2 meetings, I'm fine with that too. So I'm in for whatever you guys are up for. So. And no, that's all.
No, I just think, again, I've said it before, when I speak with people in municipalities all across the state, all across the country, they were like, how often do y'all have work sessions? Huh? Oh, yeah, I talk to people, international. Not like this. But yeah, and so work sessions, everyone has work sessions. I've spoken with Michael Gay over in Millbrook. I think they have, 30-minute, 35-minute? 30-minute work session before each council meeting, you know. I don't see the problem with it. And I did speak with someone in the municipality. They said they also have quarterly work sessions where they discuss and set goals for each quarter. So I think that's down at Enterprise. They said that they have a mandatory quarterly meeting, they set certain goals, and they cover those goals, make sure they cover their goals and discuss them every quarter. So I'm all in for 30, 45-minute work session before the meeting, packet, whatever we want to call it, packet discussion, work session, and then definitely have a quarterly work session.
All right. Anyone else?
I just, Daniel has left, but just on the record, I would like us to look in, since we're just throwing it out there, look into the, because if I forget, and I have forgotten to mention this, hold on. Going back to our community initiatives, good grief. What is the Heritage Association? I was contacted and I forgot to speak on that. I don't think they have requested, or maybe they requested but haven't received, increase. It's $50,000, so consider trying to increase that. Because I know their participation in the museum has increased dramatically, and they've got a new girl there that's doing a really good job bringing in some younger people to help the patrons as well as bringing in younger patrons. So I think that's worth us looking at. So if we can add that to the list for Daniel. Dawn, can you, somebody tell him?
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Do what? My understanding is that they have requested 75. I'm not expecting that, but just looking at, because of the increase of, they do great work, obviously. We all see it every day.
So we're at 95. We'll just determine what, okay.
Just add them to the list that we're, looking at. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, so we will have some more email conversation about rules. Some more budget questions? Do you have more budget questions?
All in favor, say aye.
All right, so our last order of business is to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Councilor Merrick, is there a second? Second by Counselor Langle. All in favor say yes.